Start. Yes, sir.
As in a little bit of an abrupt start. Hello, we welcome everybody to the World Center of Racing here for the iSNF Cup Series. Race 1 here at the Daytona 500, 500 miles, 200 laps here from the World Center of Racing. Hello, my name is Christian Delgado alongside Matthew Perchatsky up here in the HVTV booth. Obviously, we get the one to go here, Matthew. A lot to go look forward to today. We see a Toyota forward front row heading into green flag racing.
Gotta love the season openers at Daytona, man. Whether it's in the sim or in real life, we're taking these cup cars to the high banks. Daytona International Speedway out in Daytona Beach, Florida. There's going to be a lot of action here. Full-length race here, the Daytona 500. What a better place to start the iSNF Season 12 season at than Daytona.
I can't wait to see what these drivers can do here. New teams, new names, new everything here for the iSNF Cup Series. You'll see the pace car take a hard left turn on the pit road. It's going to be going green time here for these drivers as we see Barney the flagman, flag in hand. We'll get ready to go. 100, 200 laps here for race number 1. The backstretch we go here for the first time. It's going to be the number 19 of Sartaj Mon. Remember, he started up on the pole here. So it's going to be him taking the lead here as we continue to see everybody try to get figured out where they want to go there. You'll see the 12 machine of Wyatt Roberts up there on that top side as he starts to snake that top side together here. As we cross the stripe there, it's going to be the number 12.
Yeah, we saw the 19 and the 12 starting on the first row of this race. And right now, a lot of the guys is trying to get sorted out, right, Christian? Trying to make sure that their car is handling the way they want it to, and just got to make sure that you're trying to surround yourself with like-minded people, like-minded drivers, whether they're teammates or not. Right now, it's just about finding your ground, finding your footing, and making sure that you're just gonna be able to keep your car underneath yourself right now for the first opening few sequences of this race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. You still see side by side a little bit of contact between the 48 and the 33 machine there. The 33 of going to have to look at these, sooner or later here. So that's the Chris Otto in the 48, the 33 Miguel Rangel in that number 33 machine. But Chris Otto right now up towards the front here, trying to make some headway there in that number 48 machine.
Yeah, and obviously these guys still 2x2, right? Haven't figured it out to get single file. Pretty even on both lanes, though, for the time being. We've seen some good pushes from the 48 and the 33 machines right behind those leaders, the 12 and the 19 in the front, like we mentioned. But for the time being, pretty organized, pretty orderly, and that's what you want to see for now, obviously. And these guys will definitely, get more aggressive as the run continues here. But right now, you see that bottom lane just a little more separated than the top. But for the time being, Wyatt Roberts with the advantage on the top lane.
Yeah, the 12 getting help from the number 48 there, Chris Otto. Trying to make that work there. We're starting to see some of the front runners up there on that top side. You see Wyatt Roberts, his first full-time season there in that number Penske 12 machine there up towards the front. And you look at Chris Otto. He's been in the Hendrick camp for quite a while, from the 9 to the 48. And you look back there, last season's champion, that's Thomas Flynn up on the top side. And another Penske for the 22 of Timothy Cook. Rounding out, that first 5 there on the top side.
Yeah, and those 5, look at that. They are in a straight line. You don't see a lot of jockeying back and forth, wrestling the feathers. These guys are pretty much just solidified in that top 5. But you see the 3 on the inside lane right in front of that 77 Spectrum car. Obviously, those guys have got it figured out as well. And I'm just wondering if you're that 19 car, at what point do you think, hey, maybe I want to try my luck in the top lane, or for now, are you content staying on the bottom?
All right, it's going to be interesting to see because you're starting to see the bottom start to pull away, and that might be a little bit of from the help of that number 43 machine. He's going to go a lap down early. That's Alyssa Sharp in the 43, filling in part-time there for the 43 is that full-time driver of Don Barbagallo. Cannot race here. I don't think he can race in Cup at all right now for the time being. So Alyssa fills in for the 43. And that kind of lap machine is kind of started to string some stuff out. You start to see 3 wide behind those, top 3 down there on the bottom side.
Yeah, and this is where you really got to be careful if you're that 43 machine. You want to make sure you're not getting in the way of these guys that are coming with a full head of steam. Obviously, she was able to pick up that draft from that 3 Bass Pro machine, riding in third right there. But yeah, that really just shuffled everyone all around now. You see the 12 machine of Wyatt Roberts falling way back on that top line. And so for the time being, these guys are just getting single filed out here, sorting it out between each other. But yeah, as soon as you get 3 wide, as we saw with that blend, you got to be really, really careful. Make sure you don't get anyone out of shape.
Now, once again, the top side starting to fade here just a little bit here. Wyatt still trying to lead the field, trying to make that top side work, but right now, not a lot of help, not a lot of success there. You start to see a lot of these drivers start to file back there on the bottom side, trying to get single file here for these first couple laps here in stage number 1.
Yeah, and obviously right now, like I mentioned, you want to find your teammates, find the people that you can work well together with, especially if you're falling back like Wyatt Roberts. So, with the help of a teammate, you can continue to chip away at that deficit that you now find yourself in. You see Wyatt Roberts all the way back in 9th from that front row starting position. Right now, we obviously see Sartaj Man in that 19 JGR machine out in front has really just commanded that bottom line and made a few moves and a few, obviously a few motions to the top of the racetrack, to the bottom of the racetrack in the first opening few laps, but for now has been content running that bottom. And right behind them, that 33 car of Miguel Rangel, he has his teammate in that RCR3 machine as well right behind him. So teammates already finding each other right now in the field as we see the 77 car jump to that top side.
I saw 77 jump to the top there. That's Greg in that familiar 77. We've seen him run throughout, these last couple seasons here, but I wanted to go back and point out, caution, wrecking in the back. A huge one further in the back here.
A lot of guys with damage. The 40 car, the 16 machine.
7 of Isaac, the 40 of Isaac Wilson. 7 back here, Ben Ruse in his first couple, I believe in his first start here in iSNF Cup Series. Wrecking further on back here. We'll try to take a look and see what happened here further in the back. Obviously, we didn't have a camera pointed at here as they were further on back here, but we'll take a look and see what happened. The drivers here in the back here off our chopper cam here from Daytona. Looks like the 78.
Oh,
this
wow.
is Brian Treadwell, man.
Oh.
A huge hit. We'll see if he got any help. No, it just looks like kind of a...
Really out of shape.
Yeah, it looks like he just lost the handle on the car there. Got on the apron, and when he got kind of to this, the banking here, the 30 degrees of banking here, just could not get the balance in the car. Overcorrects up into the 16. Nowhere to go for the 16 machine of Jimmy Johnson. See the 7 around, you see the 40 of Isaac Wilson, and lots of damage early. Remember, these drivers do have one fast repair here, as it is one of the crown jewel events, so looks like a couple drivers are going to have to use it, especially the 78 of Brian Treadwell. Is that number 78 machine all tore up here in the back.
Yeah, and to have to use that fast repair in these first opening 10 laps is really unfortunate because that's really your safety net, right, Christian? That's your added security for the craziness that can happen later on in the race, not something that happens right as you're just trying to figure out where you fall relative to these other cars around you in the first 10 laps. So right now, riding under caution, I think a lot of these guys towards the front are going to have to be mindful of the fact that, this could really get thrown on, this entire race could get thrown on its head if we continue to have more cautions here. But we see already coming down the pit lane, actually faking down the pit lane in the top 5.
I think
a lot of these guys are going to have to think about strategy.
First driver, really the only driver to come down pit road here is the 77 of Craig Hottenschlager here in this Penske, and the not Penske, Spire machine. He comes down, probably going to top off on some Sunoco fuel, but lots of track position here. I think he expected some more drivers to come down with him, but he's kind of alone. He's got slim to no company back here outside of those drivers with some damage, so he'll come out down, top off on Sunoco fuel. He looks like he's going to be back here outside the top 20, back here in 24th. 25th is almost some contact out of pit road. I believe that's the 6th. Yeah, the 6th of Chuck Cobb. Trying to find, the handling on that car as well. I think was trying to just maybe figure something out, and maybe computer-wise there. Almost made contact with Craig there. Everything looks good to go now, but back up front, still Sartaj leading the way here under caution.
Yeah, I mean, just pretty crazy how quickly it can happen in the blink of an eye with that incident that we just saw on the racetrack. But Yeah, if you're Sartaj in that 19 car, you've led all the laps up until now for the most part, and you're in a really good position here. So, right now, just got to make sure that you're really just figuring out where you want to be on these restarts, getting up through the gears, getting up to speed, and doing it in a way that doesn't put yourself in jeopardy right now. Because last thing you want is to miss a shift, take a bad push, and get out of shape. So right now, Sartaj leading the field. We see further on back, a few guys up 10, 11 positions. We got Jeff Perchatsky up 11 positions from starting spot, back in 17th in that number 5 machine. Good of him to join us here in the iSNF Cup Series for Season 11. And then we've got the number 20 car of Enrique Cucalone up 10 spots as well. He had a good race up until a penalty late last night in the ARC iRacing Pro Series that we broadcast. They run O'Reilly machines in that race, and they had their season opener at Daytona yesterday for a 100-lap event. But obviously, a few guys up a lot of positions right now at the beginning of this race.
Yeah, and obviously different car here for Enrique, but still same discipline, right? Obviously the cars drive a little bit different, especially, learning now that last night there, the reason why the handling issues were a little bit more temperamental with those O'Reilly machines last week is they're using 110 horsepower. Obviously here in the iSNF Cup Series, we just use the base, super speedway package there. So obviously different car, obviously filling in for that JGR number 20 machine there, Enrique is. But yeah, going to get it going, filling in for Nick Johnson here in the 20. So going to be interesting to see, what Enrique can do in his debut here in iSNF Cup Series.
Yeah, and we know that Enrique has been really, really strong at these super speedways. Obviously, in the O'Reilly machine and Cup car, they handle differently, like you mentioned, Christian. But nonetheless, there's a lot of concepts and strategies that remain constant across different vehicles. So in the sim, Enrique Cucalone definitely someone to keep an eye out for. But going back to what I mentioned about the penalty that he received, you want to make sure that if you're coming down pit road and on these restarts especially, you're not going to get a penalty. And that's the last thing you want, is to have an EOL penalty, and for that to basically undo all your efforts up until that point. So for the time being, it's early in the race. It's okay if it happens right now, but you want to get those early race jitters out sooner rather than later.
I definitely agree. You want to get them out of the way. You want to, figure out where you want to put that car and where you need to put that car. And hopefully you can just figure it out along the way here. So, but, we'll just have to see here as we look forward into the restart zone here as we get ready to go green here from Daytona once again. Obviously a wreck early here in lap underneath the 10 lap mark here. Going back and talking about some of our talking points tonight here. We do have stages here in the iSNF Cup Series. The first stage will be at lap number, if we can find it here in our notes here, 65. So a long ways to go here until we get to the end of stage 1. So gonna have to keep it cordial here, but it's gonna be Sartaj Miguel in the 33 front row, back green here from Daytona.
I see a lot more separation on that top lane. 33 car with really zero help at all for a ways going back. He'll decide to jump down in front of that 11 car and get the advantage into third place. But yeah, pretty much leaving that top lane stranded there. I believe the 9 machine is the only one that's out in front leading that lane. So right now, just getting single filed out, almost just like it was right before that yellow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, if the top side can develop. You see the 11 jumping up to the top. You see the 35, another Toyota teammate jumping up to that top side, helping out the 11 machine. You see the 48, that's Chris Otto. You see Thomas Flynn. Some of those familiar faces jumping back up to the top. You see the 12 up there as well. He was trying to lead the top earlier this race. See, people starting to find their way up towards the front here.
Yeah, you saw already right there, jumping up to the top lane. They're already side by side with less than half a lap after making that decision to jump to the top with that 11 car. But right now, yeah, a lot of manufacturer implications here with the help on the top side. And you see those 3 Hendrick Motorsports cars, the 48, the 24, and the 9. You see a little bit of a blink out of that 35 machine. Got to be careful about that, because you don't want to get a penalty and have to figure out your connection issues from blinking.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the blinking is the last place you want to do is here from the World Center of Racing, just because, I mean, if you start blinking, there's not really a lot anywhere you can go, right? It's just kind of, you have to sit in line, or, if it gets bad enough, right, you'll see some drivers, ask someone, hey, can you go to the back? Can you do something? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because, when you're in those types of positions, you have to keep each other clean. And we talked about it last night with the AWC, with the ARC guys. Those guys just trying to keep each other clean and trying to make sure everything works the way it needs to. And you saw some people begging, hey, let's get these guys in, let's get these guys out, and you're going to continue to see the same thing here in these Cup Series machines.
Yeah, and obviously right now, running side by side, you just got to be careful if you're in the inside lane. You see now 3 wide. Last thing you want to do is wash up and take someone out and take out a lot of cars here. Right now, that 35 in the sucker hole, the 48
speaking
and
of the
24.
devil, here goes the 35.
Wow. And the big one already happening right in the front of the field.
Yeah, the big one. I mean, there's just a cloud of smoke there. And I would say this is the back half of the field, nowhere to go here on lap 13. A big one here early in stage 1.
That was massive, and you already see the 16 car who was already involved in that first incident once again spun out. Wow, there's going to be a lot of fast repairs I think that someone's going to have to take here. I mean, that all just happened so quickly, and mid-corner, only so much you can do for avoidance.
I'll take a look here. This is really started with Parker Stringer in the 35 there. I believe I saw a little bit of contact with the 17. The 17, that looks like a little bit of net code here. So nothing that really anybody could have done there. You see him get down there, maybe try to side draft the 17 a little bit, and then you see just a little bit of like weird contact, and it kind of just shoves the 17 up the track there, and it grabs the 35. They kind of warp inside of each other, and he'll grab the 24. Thomas Flynn, you see Cody Meadows right there in the wings, nowhere for him to go, and just nowhere for anybody in this outside the top 10. You see the 48 of Chris Otto, he gets into the 17 as well, so even the guys a little bit ahead of the wreck not being able to avoid the carnage, and we'll go back up here to full speed. Nowhere to go for, I mean, everybody just piles in.
Man.
Nowhere for anybody to go here. Going out of turn 4 here, going into Trioval.
Yeah, one of the last guys to get through that was Wyatt Roberts, and I believe the 34 machine saw a pretty good avoidance out of him there on the top lane coming down the racetrack. But wow, just insane how, like I said, how quickly all that can happen. And the writing, I feel, was on the walls as soon as they went 3 wide. I was talking about how it's just so difficult trying to hold your line, and that was the first time that they went 3, further towards the front of the field there. So, yeah, going throughout that pack, we saw that there was a little bit of motion going into the corner, and that 35 car was just trying to sort things out. But yeah, I mean, just really unfortunate for all those guys that plowed in there.
Drivers coming up here road. You see the 20 of, it looks like that is Justin Barkley. You see the 12 by Roberts. We saw Jeff Berchatsky hop down pit side there, a little bit of front end damage to his machine. And yeah, you're going to see a lot of drivers downside here. I wouldn't say a fast repair is going to be needed quite yet. I'm interested to see who's going to take the fast repair, who's going to try to just limp it out with the damage there. I think Wyatt might have taken that fast repair right there as well. But some of these drivers aren't going to have the choice here. If they have like some engine damage or something like that, or especially a meatball, they're going to have to take it early. They cannot. If they have a meatball, they're going to have to sit in there potentially, for 10 plus minutes, or if it's a tire broken, it's going to tell them too much damage. We're done if they don't have that fast repair checked and ready to go when they enter pit road.
Yeah, and that's something that you just have to make sure that you take care of ahead of time, because yeah, last thing you want, Christian, like you mentioned, is to have to be scrambling to figure that out in the sim, right as you're getting ready to enter pit road. So, so many small things that these drivers are going to have to keep tabs on, and that's just one of them. But, just getting on a pit road and getting off a pit road clean without speeding, that's already, a big burden for a lot of these drivers. So just another added layer of difficulty for a lot of these guys to have to tackle.
No, I definitely agree, and it's something that we're going to have to continue to look at, right? Who has the fast repair left, who can get it done here, and who can make sure that they can, hold on for the whole race. Because, I mean, we're on lap 15, and we've already had 2 wrecks, and probably a couple of people already have to use those fast repairs early tonight. You kind of have to be in the game here if you want a chance to go race for the win here in one of these Crown Jewel events here from the, World Center of Racing, to start off season 12 here with a bang, right? And obviously, I think there will be a little bit of growing pains. We talked about it last night with the ARC guys, where some drivers are just not going to be able to get it figured out here at the start of the race. But with time and due diligence, people are going to start to figure out, okay, I want to work with this person, I want to work with that person, to try to just get yourself in a spot to be successful here tonight.
Yeah, definitely, Christian. And I think right now, it's all about that momentum and making sure that you're you're able to carry that momentum coming out of the season opener forward. And the last thing you want is to have a really, demoralizing and demotivating Daytona 500 race, because that just carries on. And what you want is to have a good finish. Obviously the winner is going to have the best momentum, but yeah, for a lot of these drivers, it's not just about winning the race. It's just about making sure that they are dotting their I's and crossing their T's, because having a well-rounded race overall can be very uplifting in the same way that winning the race can.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, what happens here. I mean, we're not even halfway to even stage 1 yet. Yeah, let's stage 2 into the end of the race here. A long ways to go here. We're projected, take a look at our projected time here left in the race. And it's still giving us just over 4 hours left, and we've already completed, 16, coming to 17 laps. A long race to go here. These drivers have to figure it out here sooner rather than later if they want a chance.
Yeah, and I think that getting these cautions out of the way, especially the big one, and subtracting a fast repair from a lot of these guys' inventories, that's going to definitely lead to some more, some more clean racing and some more laid back racing, I hope. Just because, obviously the last thing you want is to have to use a fast repair if you still have one, and then if you don't, I mean, that's the end of your race. So worst case scenario, we get another yellow here, but hopefully these guys can get under a green flag run.
That's all we can kind of hope for here. But pace car back down pit road. It's going to be 11 now. Justin Johnson, Sartaj Mon, the two Joe Gibbs Racing teammates back to the stripe, back green here, and you see the bottom already put together a little bit better. You see that 3 of Michael Thorpe Jr. trying to push out that 11, but guess what? The 19 being in front of his Toyota teammate there, tried to take the lead of the race.
Yeah, and we see that 34 car that just narrowly avoided that wreck, second in line on the top, as well as Wyatt Roberts, fourth in line on the top. Those guys are just moving forward after getting through that incident. So right now, you see currently that 19 car leading the bottom lane with a teammate behind him. That 3 car has a teammate leading that top lane in that 33 machine, so he may decide to go up to the top, take a little bit of a push. I think that's exactly what he's going to do now.
Yeah, you can see him jump to the top side, the 8. Trying to make it work now, back to the bottom. Now here comes the 3 of Thorpe up to the top side. Is now Sartaj going to put a huge block on the 3, going to try to keep the race lead away. Going to see if he can drop down in front of his Toyota teammate. He does.
Yeah, you see those 3 Toyotas on the bottom of the racetrack. I'm thinking that the 11 might have given the 19 a bad shove going into the tri-oval, leading him to jump up the racetrack there. I don't know why you would block a single car run on the top without, good reason to, which for the time being, with only 20 laps, almost 20 laps completing the race, doesn't seem like the sensible option with 2 teammates behind you. You see right now the 3 is being really aggressive, trying to get 3 wide to the outside of the 19 and take his teammate with him.
Yeah, you see the 19 going to be stuck middle 3, back in the sucker hole. The issue is that top side, the 3 cannot get a run going, and it looks like almost his RCR teammate is going to go with the 19 now, as you still see them stuck 3 by 3. Is now with them, 3 wide back there, it's just going to suck both these lines back. And now look at the bottom now. Justin has got almost 5 cars in between him and now the first person up on that top side.
Yeah, and that just cascaded. I'm not really sure what the 19 was doing, deciding to block this early in the race, because you have the help behind you, like I mentioned. And obviously, like, I'm a fan of being able to throw the blocks and show it early and just show people what you're, what you're capable of doing. But right now, you just got to get in line and I think ride it out here. But the 40 car of Isaac Wilson now looking to the top side to take the lead.
Yeah, Junior Motorsports up to the top of the board here. Going to try to lead a lap, as they will here on lap 19. Going to lap 20. Isaac Wilson, top of the board here. He's got a little bit of a gap now. Who's he going to block? It looks like Sartaj back to the bottom here. Going to push that number 40 out here in the turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, you see the 19 already back up to the front of the field here in front of that 11 teammate of his own. But right now, the 3 and the 33 still going to be linked up on that top lane. Good that they all sorted it out after that 3 wide action. But yeah, already you see the aggression level just getting pretty high, and for the time being, as we go down the back straightaway, these guys are side by side.
And still side by side going into 1 and 2. Isaac trying to keep that car out in front. You see a little bit of a wiggle there, down there onto the apron. Out of turn 3 and 4, Isaac in that number 40 JGR JGR 19 machine going to push him to the lead there, and you see once again the Toyota's lined up on the bottom, pushing that Chevy Camaro out to the lead.
Yeah, and that 33 car really isn't able to get square on that 3 teammate of his right in front of him. You just saw him, you know, just going back and forth as we went through the trial there. I was just wanting to close my eyes because I felt like there was going to be some contact there, but also, yeah, I mean, the pushes that the 40 is getting from that 19 car, as we see right now, almost all 3, yes, all 3 of the Toyota teammates will try to get to that top line. The 23 will not make it, but they're going to try to jump this 40 car coming out of turn 4.
They're going to try to use that top side to get around the 40, drop. They're going to try to drop back down. It looks like they will, and yeah, here comes Sartaj. Here comes Justin Johnson back to the bottom, because now it's Team Gibbs back up to the front here, but once again, the 3. Another huge run, help from his RCR teammate. Now it's RCR on the top, JGR on the bottom.
Yeah, and a really good way to get shuffled out there. That looked like the 23 thought he was clear, almost cleared himself off the bumper of one of the cars in the top lane, but a really good move there to decide better of it. And we see right now, jumping to the bottom of the racetrack, Ford Dark Horse Mustang car, the 36 machine, doing a good job to take that momentum. Bryson Bird, another guy that we're familiar with on the HVTV network, an AWC Pro Series regular and now ARC iRacing Series regular from the network. He's going to jump to the point here and take maybe the lead of this race.
And he will get the lap led there, the 36. There goes Front Row Motorsports to the front there. Help from like the 45 of Shane Johnson. Shane, another Toyota up here. So now it looks like all the Toyotas trying to come to the front now, but they're going to push the forward Dark Horse Mustang, that number 36 machine. Bryson Bird up to the front. Once again, the bottom starting to, start to slinky away just a little bit from the top, at least comparatively now. You still see the 3 of Michael Thorpe trying to make something happen here on the top side. A little bit of contact between him and the 23 of James Bowles.
Yeah, Thorpe and Rangel, they need to really figure it out on that top lane because they have really been separated and not really had the square pushes that they need to take the lead of this race back. And that just gives the freedom to jump to the outside lane to that bottom. As we see right now, once again, the 19 took the words right out of my mouth, decides to jump to the top lane because of that space that was there. He's going to try to take the lead, but the 3 thinks better of it. He'll take him 3 wide.
Yeah, Thorpe going to be 3 by 3. Here comes his RCR teammate. Jump 3 wide. There's almost contact between the 19 and the 33. Here comes JGR to the middle there. Justin Johnson going to help out his Toyota teammate. But now, almost contact between the 33 and the Bryson Bird machine. And now RCR to the front of the point, but here comes the 19 trying to side draft his way back up to the front.
Man, this back and forth is crazy for only 24 of 200 laps in this event. This was reminding me of the 2012 Good Sam 500 finish at Talladega where Clint Boyer and Matt Kenseth had contact on the back straightaway. And I mean, that is just way too risky for this early on in the event, but they sorted out and they lived to fight another day.
And now it's going to be side by side. The momentum from the top side from those RCR Chevy Camaros trying to build here. The 33 up and out of line, maybe trying to man these attempts a little bit here. So right on board with the 33, trying to make sure that he can keep that teammate out in front here. You see him just out a little bit now, and then a huge bump here down the backstretch.
Yeah, they're going to get hooked up here, just like we were talking about. Finally figured out how to get those pushes. Now the 33 will actually take to the inside of his teammate. Maybe a little bit of a flip-flop will give him a better chance at staying in the front of this pack as they've gone back and forth for a while now. But we see now the Ford Dark Horse Mustang Menards 12 car of Wyatt Roberts up to the top of the racetrack. Second in line on the top, that is. And he's going to see if he has anything for these guys towards the front. Man, the 19 got the 33 way out of shape coming out of the trioval there.
And I don't really mind what these RCR guys are doing. They're going to try to lead both lines there and try to dominate the race here. Granted, the 19 doing a really good job pushing that bottom out. You're going to get the 36 and the 19 clear. Going to split up those RCR teammates. What will the 19 do? If he probably jumps out, you might see the 36 go with him. Right now, Sartaj right now, at least okay for the time being, pushing that 33 out.
Yeah, and Thorpe's line really died coming out of turn 2 there down the back straightaway. He slipped in, now 5th in line on the bottom. The 36 car thinking, hey, this is getting a little too chaotic for me. I'm going to jump to the top, try to draft up with my Dark Horse Mustang teammate of Wyatt Roberts. So the 36 car, obviously Bryson Bird and Wyatt Roberts, familiars with each other from racing in the AWC and ARC Pro Series. And they know how to get it done, right? Bryson Bird one of the guys that just completely dominated in the AWC Pro Series. And Wyatt Roberts, one of those guys that always had a lot of good speed, despite not picking up a win. And you see already now, dicing back and forth, the 19 car back to the point with more Toyota teammates to follow. And wow, they are going all over the place now.
Yeah, caution is out. Like maybe further back here, no? Like maybe Timothy Cook had a spin out here. Take a look and see. One time I wasn't looking at here. We're trying to get our timing and scoring and our graphics package set up for you guys here. One time I'm looking away, we couldn't find what was going on here. Look at the 22. Saw him slow on the track. Oh, the 6.
No.
Up the track, he's gonna hook the 22.
The 6 car, the same car we saw almost make contact with the 77 coming off of pit road earlier in the race.
So the 6, he's
now on a rejoin. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, we'll see the Chuck Cobb here. He gets maybe a little bit of,
wow.
I think he's trying to fill a void here that wasn't filled there. Alyssa Sharp gets into the back of him. Trying to save it. Gets a penalty there, probably hitting the pit cone. And then up the track, grabs the 22.
Wow, I'm speechless, honestly. I mean, honestly, I think it's a blessing in disguise because we had 4, almost 5 wide on the back straightaway going into turn 3, and that was going to be bad if they hadn't sorted that out and slowed down as they had for that caution. But, I mean, that was a boiling point. That looked like it was 2 to go in this race, and we're not even a quarter of the way through this event.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to say the least. So whatever's going on here, the aggressiveness is just so high here as we see everybody coming down pit side here. I know we're running 60% fuel. So I'm not sure what the fuel mileage is going to look like. I'm going to guess around 30 to 35 laps. I remember them actually, I remember Frank telling me that I think they can go about 30 to 35 here on fuel when he was up in the booth for the duels. So this is right on the kind of the point of, almost, having to top, almost running out of fuel here under green flag conditions. Great opportunity for these guys to come and top off on some real fuel.
Yeah, and it really is a tightrope balance, that just going between the line of, being just safe enough to make it and, taking a gamble or being, overly cautious and making sure that you get the full fill. But, I mean, a lot of these guys, I think, right now, fuel is not going to be a concern if we keep having these yellows. But, I mean, nonetheless, the strategy on pit road, right, Christian? We saw it last night in the ARC Pro Series. I mean, there's just a lot of different possibilities for strategy here. But right now, a 19 car, going to have to settle for, I think, 7th or 8th place on this restart. From the cars that stayed out to the cars that pitted. See Wyatt Roberts right behind there in that 12 machine. So for the time being, just, a chance to take a breather, right? A chance to make sure that you're, in the right headspace. Make sure you strategize properly if you're in a VC with your teammates. Got to make sure you know where everyone else is after this pit cycle. But, yeah, going to be 30 laps to complete with this event as they cross the stripe right now under yellow.
And Brian Treadwell, he stays out. Remember, he caused that first yellow. He decides to stay out here on track. Be the main native here. 150 starts under his belt here. And obviously, I raced with Brian quite a bit when I was racing here in the Cup Series. And been a mainstay here, at least doing part-time work here and there for the league and all. And so you'll see him lead some laps. Obviously, had to use that fast repair early. So I guess if you want to make it work here, this is the best opportunity to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, to see Treadwell with 150 starts, I mean, that's just really awesome to see the longevity of this 35-year-old driver here in the series. I mean, it's really cool to see those guys who stick around for a while despite the winless category, right? We got the goose egg in that, but getting ready to go green again here. We see that 77 car who pit earlier on in the race on their own, now going to be able to stay out here. That's Craig Lautenschlager. But yeah, I mean, just a a really open-ended strategy here because he pitted on his own, didn't have anyone to go with him, fell back in the pack, and then once this yellow came out, was able to jump step all these guys, get up to the front. So a lot of different trains of thoughts here, but we see further back, third in line on the top is that 19 car who was making a lot of moves up front here in the pack, but just a lot of variety here in the strategies, which I really like about it.
Oh, I definitely agree. There's a lot of variety in the pitch strategies. There's a lot of variety in how they've set up this race here. Because remember, they're stages on lap 65, so they're theoretically almost, even if it takes just a little bit of fuel saving, I think they should be ready to go here to make it to the end on fuel. So obviously the guys who stayed out are gonna have to gamble on another caution. Allow them to come down pit road here under caution to top off on Sunoco fuel, because they're not going to be able to make it here if we go green here to the end of the stage.
Yeah, and with the stage racing, there's always a consideration of the automatic yellow and opportunity to come down pit road here. So the strategy is definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out, in addition to the other cautions that we will likely have moving forward in this event.
I definitely agree. The pace car is going to take the hard left turn down pit road, and it's going to be Treadwell, Lautenschlager, Van Maastricht, and Thomas Flynn, your top four, back to green here from Daytona.
Now you saw a huge stack up on the bottom there. A lot of the guys, they were able to get up to the rear bumpers of the cars in front of them, but they didn't all move forward uniformly, so a little bit of separation now on the bottom. But for the time being, the 78 car of Brian Treadwell leading this pack, as we have another yellow on the speedway.
The caution further down in the back here. Alyssa Sharp around here in the 43.
And that's just unfortunate. We saw her. She was struggling to keep pace at the beginning of the race. Got a lap down early. But, I mean, hey, if you're going to have these kinds of incidents, it's better to have them earlier in the race rather than later.
This is going to the green. Alyssa finding her own P's and Q's and a little bit of a checkup. Another checkup, and
whoa!
Just a massive checkup here further in the back, and Alyssa is the one who pays for it. And we saw this in last night as well in the Pro Series race, where the checkups, someone's got to pay the piper when it comes to who gets spun around there. Unfortunately, a lot of front end damage to that number 43 machine. Alyssa, like she'll stay ahead of the pace car, stay on the lead lap. We're gonna have to come down, take a little bit of front end damage, but caution will wave one more time here from Daytona.
Yeah, and I mean that stack up, like I mentioned, Christian, it was something that started way towards the front and just snowballed all the way back. It got worse and worse. Eventually, that ended in the tail end of the line when Alyssa caught that stack up effect. But I mean, on these restarts, that's what I was saying earlier in the race as well, is this being able to get up to speed safely, right? You don't want to go too early and, shove someone out of shape, and you also don't want to hang behind and try to roll your way through the restart zone and try to catch someone off guard, because then, everyone else around you is just going to be, pretty out of shape and not anticipating that, you're going to be, hitting bumpers with one another. So hoping these guys can get it figured out, but a long green flag run for the time being, looking like it's going to be a long ways away if this caution trend continues the way it has.
We'll bring the cars back to a slow one more time here from Daytona. We continue to see Brian Treadwell. He'll lead some laps. And, we didn't get the chance to see if anybody else came down pit road here during this caution, but I'd imagine that you might see some drivers continue to come down pit road here, try to figure out, what they want to do here. To try to set up the stage one. Remember, we talked about it once, we've talked about it again here. They're not, anybody who stayed out here is not going to be able to make it on fuel. I mean, the most that they can do is probably 30 to 35, and, for someone like Treadwell, he's been out there for 18 laps. You look at Van Maastricht back here, he's been back there, he's been out for 24, and then 18 and 18 for Lautenschlager and Thomas Flynn. Fifth on back, Cav came down, topped off on fuel, and should easily be able to make it. But for these top four, when do you come down and try to, kind of have to bite the bullet here and give up this track position.
Yeah, because obviously, you will have to bite the bullet. It's not a question of if, it's when. I think the strategy here, Christian, is just going to be where you are with your teammates, right? Especially if it's a green flag run. You want to make sure that you're getting out with people that you can ride along with. Are going to stay in line with you and give you good pushes and know how you react to pushes or give pushes. So for a lot of these guys, I think it's just going to be about making sure that you're on that bottom line with your teammates when the time comes. And then when you're getting out back on the racetrack, making sure that the blend happens as smoothly as possible and you guys can just get back in line and try to help out. But it's all about the strength in numbers too, Christian. So obviously a lot of these teams that are going to be thinking about pitting, maybe strategizing with other manufacturers too.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're not racing in real life. No one really has a manufacturer alliance or anything, right? You can, at the end of the day, race with whoever you want. For instance, I'll give a little insight to my racing knowledge. I was a forward for most of my iSNF career, and I had some really good friends. Like for instance, Jeff, who's racing in the 500 this year. I worked with Jeff and I almost pushed him to the win, and he was, I think, in a Trackhouse car, and I was in a Team Penske Ford, trying to push him to what would have been maybe his first win in his iSNF career. And we're two different manufacturers, so I just think it's just still about, like we talked about last night, that trust and who can you trust to work with, and who can you trust to push you or for you to push that other person to be successful throughout the race.
Yeah, definitely, Christian. It's all about that familiarity that we talked about so much last night. Because when you know that you can rely on someone to give you a push when you make a move, or to give someone a push when they make a move, it's just a symbiotic relationship that really helps elevate both of those drivers, or however many drivers are involved. And especially for the guys that are just friends or acquaintances with others in this field, that's what you need, especially when you're coming down to these stage ends and the end of the race eventually. You want to have someone that you can fall back on. You want someone that will give you a push, because you'll do the exact same thing to them. So being able to have that confidence in at least one other person around you, if there are no teammates for you, that's definitely going to help boost your morale and also boost your possibility of winning the race for sure.
I definitely agree. It definitely, puts yourself in a good spot if you can find the people you want to be around, at the very least at the end of the stages, and then in the big picture at the end of the race here. We're still a long ways from that. We're just barely halfway into stage one here. So it's gonna be interesting to see. You still see the front four out in front have not come down pit road yet. We'll have to come down pit road sooner or later during this stage if they want to make it on fuel. So it's gonna be, once again, Treadwell, Van Maastricht, Lautenschlager, and Thomas Flynn back to the restart zone, back green here from Daytona.
Yeah, much better of a restart. We see the 77 already jumping to the outside of the 78 car. Lautenschlager thinking, hey, I have the momentum here on this restart. I'm going to take that track position if I can. Might think better of it, but there's a huge run coming now from the 24 and the 19 on the top lane.
Yeah, here comes, Sartaj again in a 19. He's going to be aggressive all race long. He showed it already, that doesn't matter if it's on lap 5 or if it's on lap 195. He's going to be trying to get up there towards the front and be a dominant force throughout the race here from Daytona. You'll see him now. He leads the top help from the 33, that RCR zone machine, back there at P5.
Thomas Flynn dropping down with his Chevy manufacturer teammate. Right now, Sartaj definitely back to form in the front of this pack. Now getting a little bit of help from that 33 RCR machine. RCR cars got split up a little bit after that pit cycle. But right now, he'll take all the help you can get.
Yeah, right now, Sartaj is going to get the help wherever he needs her, and he's doing a good job getting that car, once again, from the back all the way back up to the front. You're going to see him side by side for the race lead. Here comes the 19 back to the point.
Yeah, and right now, side by side, you just got to make sure that you're giving those pushes in the right areas. Got to be square and got to be off of them by the time you get into the corner. The 19 jumps down to the bottom. We've seen him do that a lot. We've seen him switch lanes pretty quickly. He'll always be clear. No problem with that. But it's definitely good to be testing that out and showing everyone else what you can do in the car so that it's not a surprise later in the race.
Exactly. And I mean, Sartaj has done a fantastic job just managing his race, getting back up towards the front here. He even came down pit road and sliced his way back through the field here, even with the guys who have decided to stay out and take the track position. You'll see Sartaj back up towards the front here, leading the way once again here from Daytona.
Yeah, really good effort by Sartaj to continue to command the front of this field for the time being. Right now, though, that 77 car looking pretty good in that second place position. Kept the car clean. Not sure if they had to use a fast repair after that first or second incident. But right now, in a good spot to be up towards the front here. We already saw it earlier in the race as well, but that bottom lane, something about it just helps it pull forward. It's strength in numbers for sure, but I'm also thinking that the top line just might not be handling as well as the bottom right now. So in the sim, you know, you're obviously just going to go mostly where everyone else is going. So a lot of people likely going to drop down to the bottom here, seeing all that momentum.
Well, exactly. And, you know, we're only in stage 1. I don't expect to see a lot of drivers try to make these bold moves. Obviously, we have seen it. But especially now, I think this, as we see 3 wide further back here, we'll look back further on that. Justin Johnson back here trying to make it middle 3, trying to make something happen. But outside of this battling, outside the top 10, trying to see some drivers start to settle down, try to just get into a spot to where maybe if they do want to go race for a stage 1 or get at least some stage points here in the first race of the season, they can. But right now, see the top side, maybe what? You know, 6 to 8 cars. Everybody else starting to pile back in there onto that bottom side.
Just got to be careful with the 3 wide. We already see it now. You got 2 lines of 3 wide, and they will hopefully sort it out here coming off the corner. You saw right there a little bit of moving back and forth out of that 11 car. 11 trying to make it up front with the rest of his Toyota teammates. It looks like they will sort out that 3 wide action there. You see Jeff Berchatsky there with a huge stack up on the bottom lane with Wyatt Roberts, Jeff Berchatsky in that 44 car. It looked like the Speedy Cash machine right in front. The 38 of Van Maastricht had a big checkup, but I'm not really sure where that could have originated from.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that could have come from, but you know, that allowed the top to get a huge surge. Here comes James Bowles to the top of the side here. Help from the 33, and now once again, it just takes one checkup from the bottom for that top side to get that energy right back there. And there he come with a huge head of steam now. James Bowles out of whack there, out of turn 2.
Oh man, yeah, they are really, really tight on that top lane. One wrong move and all of them are going to be spinning pretty soon here. With the 23 able to get back to the front of that line. He's going to be working up to get with his teammate in that 19 car. You see 3 wide further on back as well. A third line forming. Christian, talk a little bit about that momentum that third line can present for a lot of these drivers that are in that second line. See an opportunity to jump a few guys here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about the momentum, right? If you see the top line starting to build momentum, you're going to jump up there and you're going to try to maybe take advantage of it while it can. But as soon as you start to see it dies, oh, the 23 off the bumper of the 40. I think he grabbed Van Maastricht with them, and they're going to keep it straight somehow, and we'll stay green.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, they picked it back up. I didn't even think any of them spun out there. Just a little bit of tire smoke from the 23, and a bigger wreck even further back.
Huge wreck in the back here. Oh, man, that's the 21 up into the outside wall. He'll collect someone else. The 34, that's the 3 of Thorpe. He was up towards the front. Caught up in this as well. Well, Joshua will wait one more time here in stage number 2. This time towards the latter half of the stage. We went, you know, a decent amount of laps here before we got that caution, but this time, look here further back. Gonna find where this, yeah, it was the 42 off the bumper of the 3. 3 down the track, he collects the 21. It looks like the 66. Rhea Ferris might have got away scot-free there. I think Rhea is fine, honestly. Get a 43 of Alyssa Sharp. I think she snuck her way through there. Mike Iskandar, good job getting that car woed down. But yeah, just once again, an awkward push leads to another spin here further in the back.
Yeah, and a really good job there for a lot of those avoidances, but very unfortunate for those cars that really had nowhere to go. I mean, pushing in the corner, Christian, you know, that's what it really comes down to. The classic case of getting on someone's bumper in the wrong spot mid-corner, and as soon as you start to lose that rear grip and it snaps around, there's really no saving that car if you're spinning out. So really unfortunate for all of those involved, but hoping that this can be a lesson learned for a lot of these guys with regard to pushing in the corner.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to say the least. The aggressiveness not really die down, right? We saw it, the aggressiveness die down within the top 10, and then as soon as the top 10 started to, kind of piece out there, started to see, outside of the top 10, they were going 3, 4 wide, further outside the top 10, and and then they wreck back there, right? You just figured, you know, maybe if we get within 10 laps of stage two and another 10 laps, maybe they can start to fan out 2, 3 wide to go try to make up some spots to get some precious stage points. But aggressiveness just has not died down since the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, and obviously, the the style of racing that we have here at Daytona will always make it such that these wrecks and these incidents will be more common than at other tracks. But obviously the best case scenario is one where a lot of these drivers can, continue to run their race and not have to be complacent and just ride in line. But you just want to make sure that they're doing it in a way that, isn't just breeding more and more cautions. And it's all about, taking care of the people around you, right? Cutting them a break because it's early on in the race. As we get closer to the end of the stage and the actual race itself, it makes more sense that you wouldn't cut someone a break. But for the time being, you just got to be more mindful of your surroundings, got to be more mindful, and you gotta give what you can take, and you can take what you give. So, I mean, for now, it's just all about making sure that you're being as proactive as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be proactive to keep yourself in a good spot at the end of the day, I feel like. Because once again, I talked about it earlier in the race, and I'm going to continue to hammer it down. You have to be in the race to try to race for the win, right? If you continue to be aggressive and make yourself have to use that faster pair up, then you just have to basically on defense the rest of the race because you're at the mercy of everybody else, right? This is the one place where kind of the fate is out of your hands in a big point, unless you're maybe up there racing for the lead or maybe inside that top 2, top 3 rows, right? Where you are kind of dictating the pace. Outside of that, if you're, 7th on back, you're kind of at the mercy of the rest of the field.
Yeah, you're on edge for sure because you don't have that faster pair to fall back on. So even then, driving defensively, that can still lead to some incidents because, if you have an incident where you're being overly defensive or, overly cautious, that can lead to, a knee-jerk reaction that ends up taking out more cars. So, it really is a double-edged sword with regard to, being aggressive and not being aggressive. So it's really just about being there at the end, like you said, Christian. And a lot of these guys towards the front have just been able to keep their cars underneath themselves and, stay out of trouble. So we'll see whether or not that'll remain the same throughout this race. But right now, the 19 car is still on point with the 77 to their outside. And not too many teammates that are around for a lot of these top 5 that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of split up right now. You see kind of the closest people around each other is maybe the 45 and the 19 who are, I guess, there's 2 teams, right, with Joe Gibbs and 2311. I believe they would be probably in the same voice call. You see the 11 back there, and it looks like he'll start 8th. Then you maybe would look at the 40 and the 24. I believe Isaac would probably be in the same BC as Thomas, but outside of that, there's kind of just a lot of outliers just trying to race by themselves. We saw the RCR guys up towards the front, and the 3 got taken out. We saw the 19 and the 11 working really well together, and then they got separated. And obviously, wreck after wreck, you saw some of the Penske guys up towards the front, and they've gotten caught up in a couple of wrecks, and now it's just kind of a big, jumbled up, non-teammate race up here towards the front.
Yeah, and right now, that's okay, right? It's early on in the race. Stage finish is coming up here, but it's not crunch time just yet. So when you're thinking about being able to find your teammates, find your people, and get riding out in line with them, you still got some time to do so, but in order to get that figured out, you got to get a good restart here.
You're going back to green here with 21 laps to go here in stage number 1. Back to Barney, back to green here, the 19. Back to the point.
Great jump on the bottom. That'll allow the 77 Spectrum Chevy Camaro to jump to the bottom in 3rd. And that 24 car going to track behind that 19 in line. Further on back, side by side with the 40 car. this bottom lane has single filed out for the most part.
Oh, the 33 into the outside wall. Caution will wave. And they're going to grab it. Oh, man, the 78 into the back of the 33. And a couple more drivers. Another Spire car caught up in this one.
Yeah, that was way, way quicker than I anticipated. Maybe someone missed a shift. I'm not sure where the shift points are, Christian, getting up to speed here after the banking coming out of turn 2. But that 33 with a huge hit to the outside wall.
Well, take a look and see what happened here. 33. Push from the 12. Added 2, added 2. Looks like the 40 just comes down. Hooks the 33 up in an outside wall. The Brian showed well. A classic Arca break-in into a wreck. See the 47 involved. You see the 7 involved as well down there. And see that 33, the back end tore off like you just saw a couple weeks ago when he got dumped by SVG. So the 33 all tore up there on the back end. Caution waves once again here from Daytona on a restart.
Yeah, and as unfortunate as it is, that's just what happens sometimes when you make a bad judgment call from that 40 machine coming off the corner. Just a little too tight on the bottom of the racetrack. So, you just got to be mindful of that moving forward. But I'm thinking that now a lot of these guys that already took a fast repair earlier in the race now going to be having some pretty terminal damage that is not going to be repairable.
Yeah, it's tough because you look and, it just seems like wherever you are, it's not a safe place right now. We saw wrecking up towards the front. We've seen wrecking in the middle, and we've seen wrecking in the back. It just seems like there's not really a safe spot to go run right now. And I think it's, really putting a lot of these drivers on edge here to try to figure something out. We already have a couple cars lapped down. Jeff Weimer into 60. He's still limping around, though. He's one lap down, and then, our rookie driver filling in for the number 20, Enrique Cucolone. Back there 7 laps down right now. Has some damage. He's filling in right now for the 20 of Nicholas Johnson, but not the debut I think Enrique wanted here in this 20 camp.
Yeah, certainly not. And Enrique, one of those guys that we know has always had a lot of speed. But coming out of the pit lane there, you see currently at their low point of 36th position and a high point of only 19th. So Enrique really just not able to make his way towards the front and show everyone here at the network and back at home what he's capable of. But we know that he's capable of a lot more than the performance he's put on here tonight. So hoping to see a little more of him moving forward in this race. But right now, as we get close to eclipsing a quarter of the way through this event, you got to start thinking about stage points, right, Christian? Because with all these cautions that have come out, track position is going to be really, really important because we really haven't had an opportunity to see a lot of passing under green flag racing. So right now for the 19 car, if this trend continues, all he has to do is really just ride it out, and he'll definitely get some stage points pretty easily.
Oh yeah, and he has a car to go up there and race. He has the talent to go up there and race as well. So it's not the fact of, I think the fact is for Sartaj and this 19 team is, can he get lucky and keep this, car up here, right? It's not, does he have the ability to? It's, can he keep it up here without getting, caught up in something?
Yeah, Sartaj has done a really good job all day here so far. And, I don't think you want to switch up your driving style if you're him, right? Because you know that you've done everything right to be in this position so far. Haven't had to use a fast repair, have teammates around you, and, you're experimenting with, blocking some runs and, getting in front of people, taking pushes and giving pushes. And, yeah, I mean, it's really just a good position overall to be in. And it boosts your confidence here coming towards the end of the stage 1.
Yeah, it does. And, with, there's not a lot of laps left here in stage 1. So as long as Sartaj can, keep everybody happy around him. He's definitely been aggressive, but he's done it pretty cleanly. I haven't, seen him really doing anybody or doing everything else. He's just taking the runs when they've been given to him and, getting himself back up to the front. And that's, I feel like, the way you want to, stay up here towards the front. You don't want to be, making everybody upset and using everybody up and putting people in bad spots. You want to be doing it the way the 19 has throughout the race. Just, continuing to put yourself in a spot to go back up and get those spots back.
Oh, and I totally agree, Christian. And, so far the class of the fields, for the time being, that 19 car. But, a lot of other really good talent up here towards the front of the field for sure. So you don't want to sleep on any of these other guys. But we see right there, not even a lick of damage on that car. But in the same manner, that 24 right on the outside of him, still no damage there either. So a lot of these guys just doing what they need to do, keeping the car clean, keeping the track position, and hopefully going to be able to pick up some stage points here.
Now 24 on the top side is no slouch. You're defending series champion here, in the Cup Series. So Thomas, if Thomas is good at anything, it's squeaking out these good finishes when he doesn't have the ability to go out there and outright win. Remember, he won the championship. He won one race last season. That was the Coke 600, his home race, the Charlotte native. And outside of that, he just continued to bring it home. Bring home a top 3, bring home a top 5, bring home a top 7. If that's all he can do, right? He is okay not bringing it home in victory lane. And that's what you have to have, that mentality here throughout the season. But you'll see the pace car once again back down pit road. We approach the 1/4 mark. Back to green here, Sartaj Maan. Back to the stripe.
Oh man, there was another bit of a stack up there on the bottom of the racetrack. You see Jeff Prochatsky pushing Wyatt Roberts on the bottom, followed by the 34 machine. Now Thomas Flynn, like we just mentioned, Christian, jumps to the bottom in third. You see further back the 45 and the 11 affiliated teammates with 2311 and Joe Gibbs Racing respectfully. And then that 22 machine, haven't talked about him too much, the 22 car of Timothy Cook Jr. doing a good job to get up front towards this pack on the top lane. Following along with Jeff Prochatsky right now behind the 12.
See him kind of just sitting in line right now. You see the 24, he's going to jump up, try to get this top lane going. Here comes the 77. Here comes some of these, Hendrick aligned cars here up to the top side. They're going to leave Jeff right now on the top. Jeff really has nowhere to go. You see here on the bottom, right behind the 12. He needs to get up there to the 12, give him that air so he can keep this, bottom side rolling here. Jeff's got to get up behind Wyatt if he wants to get this bottom rolling.
A quarter of this race now completed, and Jeff knows how to hold a pretty wheel, right? We're very familiar with him here at the network. There's a lot of endurance racing, a lot of IndyCar racing, works on the HRC side of things for their engines in the IndyCar program. And so he's really familiar with just how to get around in any type of race car, but really enjoys these ovals, and glad to see him here in the iSNF Cup Series. You see the 19 car taking it to the outside lane with his teammates on the top line.
Finally got those Toyotas, lined up right 1, 2, 3 on the top side. You're going to see the momentum start to shave. Back up to the Toyota camp here. As you'll see now, Sartaj side by side with the 77 for the race lead. Give it to Sartaj at the line.
Yeah, and Lautenschlager, he's done a good job on the bottom of the racetrack as well. The 24 has worked really well with him for the time being, and I'm thinking that, they're just content riding in line there on the bottom, right? You don't got to push the issue, try to pull a block on anybody here. I'm going to stay with my teammate, and I'm just going to ride it out on the bottom for the time being. But we see the 19 car definitely really enjoys jumping in front, and just, like I've been saying the entire broadcast so far, just showing everyone around him what he's capable of doing in that 19 machine.
And I'm interested, and I'm curious to see why he went down to the bottom. Obviously, we know the bottom's better, but I feel like you want to kind of keep those Toyota teammates up with you and keep them in the back pocket, because you see now, once he's dropped down in front of this bottom side, the top once again starting to die off. Here comes the 45. As he drops, he says, hey, I'm not liking the fact that I'm leading this line. He's going to go to the back. That'll leave now the 11 and Justin L. Johnson back there to lead the top side.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a trend, Christian. As soon as someone pulls down from the top lane, the top just absolutely dies. So right now we're seeing that with the 11 and the 22 just fading back further and further and further, looking for a hole. And man, we get another wreck with the 6 car again involved.
The 43 of Alyssa Sharp also around here in the back.
The 47, the 45, the 35, the 1 car, all with issues, and the 43 as we just mentioned.
Caution out here, just over 10 laps to go here in stage number 1. Alyssa once again caught up in another one here. You see her stopped right here, right outside. This is where usually the AMR safety team would come out of track. You're obviously blocking the safety trucks as the time being, but we'll take a look and see what happened to Alyssa here in this 45 machine. Off our chopper cam, the Alyssa middle 3, and once again the 6 involved. Comes up, kind of bodies Alyssa up the track there. He'll go around and collect a couple more, but I think that car is looks like it's pretty much broken there for that 43 machine.
Yeah, just so unfortunate. And you know, if I had it my way and I was running this league, like that's got to be a 3 in park for the 6 with just incidents that they've been involved with or almost involved with here. But yeah, really unfortunate for the 43 and all the other cars involved with it. That wreck kind of cascaded and continued to carry on further down the back straightaway, as we saw the 47 car also making some contact further up in the pack. We're following along with the 16 car, Jimmy Johnson. We see Cobb right behind there. We'll get through it, but then continuing to wreck after that contact further on back.
I just want to see an onboard of what's going on with Chuck, because he usually hasn't had these types of issues here, especially at the super speedways, but he's just been so reckless tonight, and it's just something that isn't common for that 6 machine. You see the 47 to 35 around in the back are well with them. Parker Stranger involved as well, and it's just very uncharacteristic for Chuck here in the 6 machine. Obviously, I know he got into a little bit of a fight in the Discord text chats here during the duels here with some people, but you know, I've never seen Chuck have this much issues, you know, getting into people here, especially at these super speedways. Granted, we are a lot closer and everything, you know, those little tiny mistakes do cascade a lot more, but still, I'm not, super surprising to see the 6 as uncontrolled as he is tonight.
Yeah, you know, that happens, right? You know, we have our off days. Everyone does. Anyone who says they don't is lying, especially behind the wheel of the next-gen car in the sim. You know, these cars are a handful, so, you know, if you get out of shape, it's really difficult to keep it off the wall, keep it off of other cars. But, yeah, just really bad luck for the 6 car, one way or another, to be involved in that many incidents so far in this event. But, you know, while we were under green flag racing, you know, a lot of good moves from guys up in the front of the pack. It seems that everyone's kind of figured out where they're running well and who they work well around. So I'm really excited to get back green flag racing here. We see the 3 further up now after that incident earlier on in the race. Definitely not going to have the help of their 33 teammate anytime soon, but we see right there the Winchester Bass Pro Shop number 3 machine definitely making it further up in the pack. That's Michael Thorpe Jr.
I mean, up to 15th. Remember, he was back there, got caught up in a couple of incidents throughout the race, and slowly grinding away here at trying to get back up there. So, you know, good for him to stay in it. You know, you look back at, you know, what happened with Micah Walls last night here. You know, you could say the same kind of with the 3 here. Gotten caught up in a couple of incidents, just trying to hold on here. And that truck looks, I mean, that car looks relatively clean comparatively. You know, how much havoc has been happening to Michael here. Granted, these next gens are a little bit more sturdy than those O'Reilly machines, but they're looking pretty clean and green for the 3 machine.
Yeah, and really good to see that out of that 3 car, just making the most out of the circumstances that have been laid out in front of them. So definitely not over yet anytime soon. So we see right now everyone riding in line here going to get ready to go back green. And you know, when you do this enough times in the sim, you know, you kind of don't get phased by the fact that you're all slowed down, and you know, you're in your VC like we talked about earlier. You're talking with your teammates, anybody who can just, you know, help get you in the right headspace, talking about strategy, talking about, you know, making the move at the right time, coming towards the stage 1 finish coming up here. So, you know, a lot of different things going through the heads of these drivers, but I at least look on the bright side of things whenever we slow them down here under caution, because it just gives them a chance to, you know, think and strategize for this next restart.
Oh, exactly, Matthew. It's kind of like a mental reset for all these drivers, right? Granted, I don't think they want to continue to have as many mental resets as we've had tonight here, as we've had a plethora of cautions tonight. But going back to what you're saying, to kind of wrap this all and put on a bow, right? It is a good time to, you know, come back and be like, and at least try to figure out the strategy of, hey, can I get with this teammate here? Can I get with that teammate there? Wanting to drop to the back to potentially help get a teammate to the front, right? Because, you know, with these next gens, you can't really just get to the front on your own if you don't have people that are going to work with you. Sometimes it is worthwhile if you are someone running maybe outside of the top 5 to go pick up someone outside of the top 10, and you work with that person to get back up inside and get that track position back.
Exactly, Christian. So definitely a lot to look forward here to see all that play out. Right now, the restart's going to be the biggest thing on these guys' minds. You see Jeff Rachowski there, third in line on the bottom. Hendrick teammate right in front of him, the 24 car. The Raptor red and blue Flames machine of Thomas Flynn. It's going to be a force to be reckoned with on the bottom there. As well as Wyatt Roberts and the 77 machine of Craig Lautenschlager. These guys have been, like we've been saying, keeping the car clean, keeping the car up front. So, a few guys to look out for here on this restart.
The pace car, hard left turn down pit road. Once again, the 19. Sartaj back to the point, help from the 24, back green from Daytona.
Once again, the bottom prevailing on the restart. The advantage to the 19 car with the close help from the 24. But these guys will draft us in them quite quickly here as we get towards the back straightaway. That top line fading way back, though, already.
You see the 12 of Roberts trying to make that top side work one more time, but once again, the bottom starting to slinky away once again. Now, if you're that 24, you've got three Chevys lined up behind you. Do you take the right turn here right now to go and try to make that top side work?
Yeah, and I just winced seeing the 17 car get out of shape and put 3 wide in the middle. Further on back, going into turn 3. They sorted out, but that was really, really close. Almost got out of shape. Now the 11 car thinking, hey, I want to join this party up here in the front. Justin Johnson and the JGR National Debt Relief Toyota going to try to pull Wyatt Roberts along with them. You see that Front Row Motorsports 34 machine also further on back. That's Larry Fairman looking to make it towards the front.
Remember, that 11 machine of Justin Johnson, he was a Penske car last season, as well as the 12 of Wyatt Roberts. And now, obviously, we know Justin, he's in the 11 at Toyota camp. And Wyatt kind of got a promotion from the Wood Brothers machine up to the 12 machine now. So these guys do know how each other race, and, they have worked with each other for basically a whole season last year in season 11. And obviously, you have the 22 up there, Timothy Cook. And, the weird thing is Timothy's kind of the odd man out here because he is new to Team Penske and wasn't a part of that little gaggle there. You see the 11 jump down to 17. Contact with the 12 up there. That's Don Blazier using up the 12 there in the 1 and 2.
That's going to completely kill any chance that top lane had of making their moves towards the front. They may fall out of the top 10 there. They'll have to settle for, it looks like right around the edge of that top 10. As we look back from Sartaj Mann, continuing to command this field from the front, and Thomas Flynn right behind him. Then we have Lautenschlager and Prochatsky to follow, and Cook Jr. in the 22 machine. But how about that 36 car of Bryson Bird looking to the top lane in that quick tie 36 Ford Dark Horse Mustang?
I'm going to ride on board here to see how this run develops here on that top side. You see the 48, that's Chris Otto. You see the 23 as well of James Bowles, 2 veterans of the series start to make some headway there. And then you'll see Bryson. Bryson, and looks like Wyatt Roberts, though, 2 relatively new drivers here to the iSNF Cup Series. Granted, not new to the network, but new to this particular series. Sandwiching those 2 veterans here. But you still have to see the top side and that Ford Dark Horse Mustang start to inch closer and closer and closer to the race lead going through 3 and 4.
Yeah, and I would predict that, as you see a little bit out of shape there, the 48 car, who we just mentioned, Chris Otto, maybe got a bad push from Cook Jr. in that 22 machine, or rather the 23 machine of Bowles on the top lane. But right now, the 48 elects to jump behind their teammate in the 5 car, and we have essentially a 4 HMS engine powered lineup right behind the 19 car of Sartaj Mann.
I see the 24 of Flynn. You see the 77, obviously Aspire Motorsports machine, still with that Hendrick engine. Jeff Prochatsky a little sideways out of 2. Help from the 48 of Chris Otto. And 1, 2, 3, 4 in the line there on the bottom.
Yeah, and right now I'm thinking that Front Row Motorsports car of Bryson Bird just trying to hang on here, trying to sniff the side draft as much as possible and drag his line to the front. It really is a slow drag. And see, even more out of shape, that 23 car, seems like every car that's in front of him has just gotten a little bit out of shape. And right now, the 48 now elects to jump to the outside of their teammate on the bottom.
Here comes Otto, going to lead the top. Here comes Craig to the top. They're going to try to make that top side work. That'll allow Jeff Prochatsky to get down there. He's going to be P3 in line. Contact!
Oh!
77 up and an outside wall, and another big one here in the 3 and 4.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And they're still wrecking. Jeff Prochatsky involved as well after getting almost through it. See him get that thing back around, but the 77, the big fine in that one. He get a huge hit to the outside wall for Craig in the 77 machine.
Yeah, all that happened so quickly as we see Jeff Prochatsky getting back up to speed. Not sure how the damage was for him. He got barely tagged on his left rear as they almost made it through.
We'll go back up here. Something happened here with the 48 and the 77. A little bit of a slow-mo here. A shot to the back of the 77. Another shot to the back of the 77. That little scrape to the back there, and a little bit of netcode from Jeff as well. I don't think he probably should have got caught up in there. Nonetheless, he will. And you see the 48, a huge hit to the outside wall as well. And then another Hendrick car. That's Cody Meadows. Nowhere to go for him. And just everybody, once again, nowhere to go here as they ruck up towards the front. Everybody trying to pile in. There goes the 38 up on 2 tires down there in the grass. Just everybody just nowhere to go. Piles back into the wreck.
Yeah, just really unfortunate circumstances for a lot of these guys. I think I saw the 16 car, Jimmy Johnson, maybe squeezing his way through on the bottom on the apron to get through that wreck without even more damage. We know he already has one less fast repair than most people in this field. And you see behind these cars just emptiness. That just goes to show how many people have damage and are going to have to come down pit road to fix it.
Well, and you think about this now, this is the second kind of big one we've had, and we're only on lap 62, right? How many people had to use that fast repair and got caught up in this one, right? I expect there's going to be at least a handful of guys who had to use it for the other big wrecks we've gotten throughout this first stage that are going to have to sit and take the damage, or maybe have to call it out early here, because, I mean, these guys just cannot seem to keep these cars going straight.
Yeah, obviously, you know, a lot of long-term implications here with these guys that have gotten one less fast repair now. If they have to, you see Sartaj still clean coming off a pit road there. But a lot of these other guys going to definitely have some optional damage or some repairs to make in order for their cars to run up to speed here at Daytona.
When you have to give a hats off to Sartaj, because, I mean, you know, it's the best way to keep that car clean is to lead to be the leader and to lead as many laps as you can tonight, and he's done a good job of it, right? Unless the leader gets hooked in front of the whole field, and obviously that's going to be a chaotic one right there as well. You're going to most likely have that car clean. You see Jeff Prochatsky out on track here. See if and I'm going to take a look and see how many people have used their fast repair, and it's a good portion here. Is Matthew should be able to see here on his other monitor. Quite a few people. We have 3 people who have left the session. We have a guy with a meatball, someone with a black flag who should get that cleared. But we have at least, you know, probably, 10 drivers who have already used that fast repair.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little more than 10, but the trend that I am noticing is that most people towards the front of the pack right now, at least, still have their fast repair. So track position definitely helpful with regard to the necessity to use that fast repair. And the further up you are, for the most part in this race, the less likely you are to be involved in those wrecks. They've happened about, you know, maybe 5th place on back, 10th place on back. So nothing that's happened right in the front of the field necessarily, but yeah, just really unfortunate if you have to use that before we even cross the halfway point of this event.
And I do believe that caution came out on lap 60, which means that Sartaj should win the stage here. So congratulations to Sartaj, because they called the stage within 5 to go. I believe we did get the caution here on lap 60. So congratulations to Sartaj here, as he will get the stage win, as we will go green here on lap 65 to, I guess, officially start stage 2. It's gonna be interesting, because obviously we would usually call the caution as they cross the stripe to get the 65. So instead of stopping stage 1 at 65, we will start stage 2 at lap 65.
Yeah, and you see right there, the 22 machine now going to have their chance to perform in the front of this field. The 33 car and the 16, 2 separate incidents took both of them out of contention early, and they were back up towards the front of this field in the second row. The 34 car, who avoided that huge contact earlier on in the race throughout turns 3 and 4, took a little bit of damage from that last incident, I think, came down pit road and came out third line on the top lane. Then we see the 44 car, I think, on the bottom, third in line. Definitely someone who we didn't see up front throughout this race. And then the 47 Chef Boyardee car also had maybe some damage spun out after that incident with the 6 car on the backstretch. Then obviously the 24 car, Thomas Flynn, one of those guys that we thought was, you know, right there neck and neck with Sartaj Man, but probably got some damage in that last wreck. So just a lot of different storylines so far right here.
Definitely agree. There's a lot of different storylines that come here going into stage number 2. A lot of new faces up here towards the front. You look at Scott Trusty in the 47. Look back at Larry Fairman. He was up here inside the top 10 a couple times here, but a lot of new faces here. You look at Justin Barkley in the 21. He hasn't shown his face that here, but he's going to be up here inside the top 10 here as we get ready to go green here. To start stage 2, we approach here. We get the green flag.
Pretty good jump there. Tiny bit of separation on the bottom. The 19 is going to clear. Thinks better of it to jump down to the bottom of the racetrack and drag that 33 RCR zone nicotine car up to the front.
The 19 is Sartaj will get a good push from the 33. Down here, up the gears, up the speed charts here. Down the back stretch, you'll see the 19 with the lead here, but here comes the 22 with Timothy Cook. Up from the 16 of Jimmy Johnson, trying to make that top side work. A little bit of contact, a little bit of side drafting from the 22 down in a 3 and 4.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys not used to being up front here so far in this event. First time for the 22 car and the 16. But both of them coming with the head of steam towards the front here. Got to be careful in that travel, though. Had almost contact with the 44.
Almost a little bit of contact with the 44 there, and we've already seen a little bit of a split here. Bob Wyckoff, the last guy out on track here, and then a big split off back here, 2.5 seconds back. The rest of the field back here. You see the 77 to Craig Lautenschlager, you see Rhea Ferris, you see Cody Meadows, who's going to go around. Here comes Mike Iskandar down the apron there. Wrecking outside of the first pack will stay green. These guys just trying to hold on here. I think this is, was supposed to be the safe pack right here. Thinking that these guys would wreck up front. They're the ones wrecking outside of that lead pack, but you see definitely the lead pack shrunken a lot here since we've gotten these cautions.
Yeah, I mean, just chaos right now, honestly. I mean, these guys are definitely going to be dicing back and forth all throughout the pack, so nobody is safe for the time being. 33 car fading half a lane high, thinking, hey, I might decide to jump up and take that lead if I get an opportunity to. Once again, though, Christian, that top lane just nowhere to be found right here after the restart.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe it's a package issue here with these next-gen cars. I haven't really raced a whole lot with the next-gens at these super speedways anymore, especially here at Daytona. But, yeah, I don't know if maybe if it's a track-dependent thing. I did recently race a league race at Talladega with my good friend Cody Meadows, who's racing tonight. We actually got 1-2 in that race, and the top line worked pretty well, but I don't know if it's a setup thing, if it's a track thing. Oh yeah, definitely that top side. I've just not been able to get up and going unless you get a huge head of steam there off that bottom side.
And you see Jimmy Johnson in the 22 car way back now in the field. That top lane just not prevailing like it usually does from the momentum. Strength in numbers on the bottom. See the 30 car blast by that Ford Dark Horse Mustang. A little out of shape there way back. Not quite sure who that was. Looks like they got a little bit of blinking going on. Hopefully they sort that out. The 22 car gets in line on the bottom in front of the 21 sister team of the Wood Brothers Racing to Penske's 22 car. Right now, Cook barely sneaks into the top 10.
Cook up in front of the Wood Brothers machine right there on the bottom, and then you have the 12 right there as well. So 3 of the 4 Team Penske Fords right there lined up, 1, 2, 3. I don't see the 2. I don't even know if Mark showed up tonight here for the 500. So, yeah, obviously 3 of the 4, I guess, if you want to call it, Penske cars represented tonight here in the iSNF Daytona 500. And they're all lined up, 1, 2, 3, further back up, on the back half of the top 10. The cars further on back. You're trying to hold on here. We look further back here. You look at someone like Jeff Wachowski. Look, someone back here, Jackson Trusty, and that's the 15 Rick Ware machine. Look back to some of the other guys, and that is the 20 of Enrique. He's still 7 laps down, but still trying to hold on here to this lead pack.
Yeah, and good job of Enrique to stay back out on the track there. Got to appreciate the effort and the drive to come back out on track after being buried further back in the pack. I think he was down in 36th, so making moves whenever he can, taking everything that he can get.
Oh, and this is a good, audition tape to get him some more opportunities here later in the season, right? Because obviously, 7 laps down, he could have packed it up and called it a night. Well, I'm not even racing full time. I probably just got asked last second because the 20, and because Nick Johnson and the 20 couldn't make it, right? But no, he's sticking it out here, 7 laps down. He is by far not the first car by any stretch of the imagination a lap down. We've got, 3 or 4 drivers 1 lap down. We have Craig Lautenschlager and Eric Jorgensen, who's 2 laps down. And then you go to the 20 with 7 laps down, right? Chuck Cobb's still on track, 16 laps down. But he's by no stretch of the imagination eligible for the lucky dog. Good for Enrique to just continue to come out here, show that he can stick it out even when the times are tough.
Yeah, and how about that top lane, making a charge back towards the front. Jimmy Johnson with a really good shove to that 11 car. Wow, I mean, just a really good job, honestly, here. Just to work back that momentum and really bounce back here with Justin Johnson.
Jimmy pushing Justin here up to try to get to the race lead here. Now will the 19, will he jump up and block his, JGR teammate, or is he content? And then on the bottom here, it looks like Justin's going to get to the outside here of Sartaj. It's going to be a JGR 1-2 here leading the top and the bottom. Now it's what lane can, generate the momentum here. You see the 11 a little squirrely as well as the 16. But the top here with the huge run to the bottom. Here comes Jimmy to the bottom. He's going to get down underneath Justin. And now 3 wide, Justin to the bottom. Now 3 wide again. The 23 of James Bowles in caution. Like Scott Trusty, you see the 21 on a huge lick.
Wow.
For Justin Barkley. A lot of front end damage for that machine. We'll take a look and see, does he still have that fast repair? Yes, he does. So that's a saving grace for him. The 47 is Scott Trusty. Like he parks it and he does not have a fast repair on that number 47 machine. But we'll take a look and see what happened here on the HVTV replay. See what happened between that 47 and the 41. 21, my apologies.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, man.
Oh, man. Whoa.
The 47 got some air there. Like off the bumper of the 38 of Chris Van Maastricht. Take a different angle here from our chopper cam. A little bit of a stack up. And just Chris, I don't even know if Chris knew that they were checking up there. And oh, man. A huge hit to the 21 and the 47. Those were both really hard hits to the outside wall. Definitely tore both those cars up. But going back to, the initial cause of the wreck, I don't even think that Chris knew that there was a big checkup and just didn't lift for it, right? I mean, it's really hard to, be able to react in time when they just check up that quickly, right? We saw that happen earlier this race. And then the same thing happened. They checked up really quickly in front of the car, in front of them, behind them, and they just could not react in time to get everything back going P's and Q's wise.
Yeah, just really, really unfortunate for a lot of these guys here. So just got to be sure that these guys are mindful of, when they're getting clear, when they're not clear, paying attention to that spotter in their ear, whether it's the virtual spotter or, somebody who helps them out in the sim. You want to take all the resources that you can get, and see right there, more cars maybe coming down the pit lane. Yes, the 23 car, Xfinity Toyota Camry, coming down the pit lane.
Down pit road here, gonna top off on some Smoker race fuel. I don't mind this because you get that stage at lap 130, and so this should pretty much. It's not going to get you to the end of the stage here, but it should get you to a 1 stop at the very least, right? Because they could probably get to around lap 110, and then if we go green, they're going to have to. If they do go green, I don't think Unfortunately, I don't think we are with how the racing's been tonight. But if they would happen to go green here, they would just have to take a little bit less fuel, right, to get them to the end, or they could go a little bit longer to they're shorten that pit stop to get to the end of the stage.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make sure that you get it to the stage, Christian, but I also think you want to think about, you know, being in the right place when you want to be there, right? And if your long-term strategy is to be there at the end of the race, if we stay green, which like you said, likely not the case, maybe you strategize a little bit differently, but for the one stopper in this stage, that definitely minimizes the damage for, frequency of pitting. But yeah, currently coming up on almost 75 laps complete here. Definitely going to be a lot of differing strategies.
Approaching halfway, and we're doing the math about 55 laps until we get that stage caution. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely no one's definitely good to make it the end of the stage here, and I guess that's another question you have to have, Matthews, right? Do you set your race up to win, or do you set your race up to get as many stage points as possible and hope that you can get them, knowing that there's a chance that you get right out early?
Yeah, Christian, usually it's one or the other. Hardly ever is it both, where you can really maximize those opportunities. It's 50% car, 50% driver. That's what Denny Hamlin says on his podcast, Actions Detrimental. And if you know that you have a 50% car, as a driver, if you're in the right headspace, you know what to do, then you'll have a pretty good chance of maximizing stage points and that race result. But obviously, let's say you have the 25% car, 30% car, even if you're a 100% driver, that's only 80% combined percentage of confidence to complete a race and get a good result. And so maybe you change your target incentive that way. Maybe you change it to, hey, I'm going to go for the stage points, but I'm going to need a little bit of help towards the end. I'm going to need a caution. I'm going to need something to help elevate me later on in the race, because I know maybe I'm not as good with the handling of my car in the draft when the aggression level gets turned up. Alternatively, if this track just doesn't really fit you well, but your car is handling really well, you can say, hey, I have the tenacity and I have the ability to go out and, send it on the last several laps, but I just need to be in position to do so. So maybe you pit in a way that helps you get up towards the front of the pack, or don't pit and you stay out in a late yellow. So there's just so many different perspectives that you can use towards your approach here at Daytona. But I mean, so many of these guys have already shown a lot of strength in the way that they're able to maneuver and command the front of this field here. So I think going back to what you said, Christian, earlier on in the broadcast, and we keep reiterating, is just, in order to finish this race, you have to be there at the end. So that's going to be the name of the game here, with considering how many cautions we've had, for sure.
You got to be there to try to race it out here, and I definitely agree with that incentive here. But pace car once again take the hard left turn down pit road. Going to be the 3 of Michael Thorpe and Justin Johnson. RCR versus JGR. Back to the restart zone, and a little bit of a bump from his teammate Justin Johnson back to the stripe.
You see right there, RCR teammate's going to hopefully get linked up there. 3 and 33. 33 is now clear. He's looking to the bottom of the racetrack. He will go with the 2 Toyota teammates leading this pack.
Now, I saw the 33. He tried to get underneath the 19. The 19 did a good job covering his tracks there. I think the 33 was trying to grab his teammate there to, lead the bottom side. But Sartar's doing a good job blocking that momentum from the 33. Now it's going to be a 2-car tango between JGR and RCR. Now here comes Team Colleague up there with the 16 machine.
Yeah, and obviously, a hard hit to the left rear quarter panel from that 3-car, giving his teammate a shove. The 16-car now completely alone after taking that move to the outside after that checkup that the 3 had on the back straightaway. That 48 car, though, Chris Otto, top of the racetrack, going to try to draft up to that 16, give him some help. But until then, we just see a wreck. A wreck there as the 16 tries to get to the side of the 3 car, and he will take out the 1, I think, as well. And another big hit by the 41. Even more contact. Enrique Cuco alone getting 2 tires off the ground.
He was bouncing up and he was jumping up and down there in the grass like it was a trampoline, but Just another ill-advised contact with the 16. He grabs the 3. Like Jeff Prochaska got a little bit caught up in there as well. We'll kind of look and see what happened from another camera angle. See if diagnosis even a little bit more.
Yeah, that may be race ending damage, but the 16 car was really trying to be aggressive with the side draft there. Just not the right place to do so. See Jeff maybe a little bit of front end damage. The 16 car with a big hit to the 1, and then also the 41 who came sliding in after here. 12 car Wyatt Roberts up towards the outside wall as well.
I believe Larry also had a pretty big hit here. We'll take it, see if he could show us damage look like here after this. He got hooked by the 48. Oh man, and a huge hit to the outside wall for Larry as well. Barely got a little bit of contact from Chris Otto. Number 48 machine, and got lots of right front damage for Larry there, and nothing he could have really done there, just caught up in a wreck. So yeah, caution waves one more time. We approach the halfway point here in tonight's race. Lap 78 going to lap 79.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of race ending damage, I think, for some of these drivers. We already talked about it a few times, but those fast repairs, you know, they've already been used up. There have been a lot of really big incidents, and it seems like every single big one we have, we get every now and then. And so for many of these guys, it's going to just be, you know, biting the bullet, using the fast repair, or thinking, hey, you know, I can work with this damage. I don't need to use my fast repair right now. But you see that 16 car, one of those guys that we know doesn't have the fast repair, had some pretty big contact, but looks like just some left rear damage. Hopefully no wheel damage, but, you know, I'm just not so sure with, you know, the way that these next-gen cars are in the sim.
If I'm looking at the 69, if I have anything but wheel damage, I think I'm okay right now too. Keep limping it around, trying to figure you're gonna get more caution. I don't think like the fact that I'm not gonna have time to fix the damage is gonna be a concern, because we've seen throughout the whole race today, been caution after caution, right? And I don't really see any wheel damage to the 16. We'll see. Can we come down pit road here and try to at least get probably that rear end damage. Outside of that, I see a little bit of door damage to the right side there once he got the outside wall, but outside of that, the car looks a lot clearer than I expected to with how hard of a hit he took.
Yeah, definitely, Christian. And I mean, these cars, we know that they have composite bodies compared to the old sheet metal design of the Gen 6 and COT era cars. You know, if you pancake the wall back then, your race would be over. Your day would be ruined. You'd get wheel damage, maybe cut down a tire with some pushed in metal. But these cars, you know, they can really take a beating both in real life and in the sim, as we've seen here today. So I'm thinking that a lot of these guys that, you know, despite getting caught up in some of these incidents, going to be able to be back out on track. Now, whether they're a few laps down or not is a different story. But nonetheless, these guys are still going to be in contention.
Looking at the cars now, and we've gone down to now 24 cars on the lead lap. Reisenberg, the last car here, getting fixed there. The right front damage looks like to that 36 machine. Sits down pit road, got caught up in that incident as well. 24 cars still on the lead lap, so still quite a few drivers who still have an opportunity. Try to get it done here from the World Center of Racing as we approach halfway here at tonight's race. 200 laps, 500 miles here from Daytona.
Yeah, looking on finishing lap 80 of 200 very soon here under yellow. They will take that 80th lap under yellow. We see Jeff Prochaska staying out. Not too much damage to that car after he had at least one car spinning in front of him with some front end damage. Oh man, it was almost some contact there with the 19. Dropping down with the 16 car getting back up to speed. Not quite sure what that's all about, but yeah, I mean, the cosmetic damage, Christian, you mean, it's not even worth your time to come down pit road. And I mean, the track position so far, you know, not many people have been safe, you know, fifth on back. But if you're further up front, you know, the wrecks have really not been concentrated that far up. So I'm thinking that a lot of these guys are just hoping that they can be up there to stay in contention. 16 car going to be dropping further back here, I think. But these guys are going to get ready to get going with the restart again. These restarts have really kind of said a lot about the the race so far, because the bottom lane has typically prevailed, and the top lane just really hasn't gotten a good chance to get momentum unless they really get organized. And even as they get organized, that doesn't guarantee that that's going to stay that way for too long. And we saw what happens when they get out of shape with the 16 car. So it's all going to be about finding people you work well with.
Yeah, it is going to be about it. And you look at top 5 here. They have 17 laps since they've come down pit road there, and you see a couple of stragglers there who also stayed out. They have 6 laps on their tires since they've come down pit road at least. Obviously, we did get that caution 6 laps ago, so it's gonna be this front 5 who stay out here, trying to take the track position gamble here. So it's gonna be once again 2 JGR Toyotas. It's gonna be Sartaj, Justin Johnson, side by side as we get ready to go back green here.
Ooh, a good jump on the top. That's going to allow him to clear on the bottom. You know, Christian, I think he might have lifted that 19 car to let his teammate jump down in front of him. And that actually seems to be the better strategy here, because that top lane just way out of shape and separated now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to see if I would hear that. Yeah, that Sartaj lifted to let the 11 jump in line there to continue to keep this JGR 1-2 together. You see still that RCR Camaro back there to 33, trying to make some headway, but here comes the 48 of Chris Otto. He's going to try to make it a side-by-side move for the P3 position. Going to need that help from Jeff and Thomas Flynn on that top side to get that top rolling one more time.
Yeah, they are moving right now on that top lane. Just got to keep it together. 300 teammates on the top, followed by a Ford Dark Horse Mustang of the 22 Shell Pennzoil car. No help from the other Penske's as far as I can see. But yeah, so far we got 3 Toyotas and that 4 on the bottom lane, and we got 300 cars in the top lane. So gonna have to work together with each other.
That's not 300 cars anymore. That's all 400 cars lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top side. That's Otto, Rachatsky, Meadows, and Thomas Flynn riding out the fast 4 on that top side. They've gotten finally back together. They're going to try to make this top side work.
Yeah, and a really good job by Jeff to be pushing right in the right areas. And I mean, right now, just not really able to carry that momentum forward the way that they'd like to. Even with all the help and strength in numbers, you see the view back from Chris Otto in the Ally onboard camera. Jeff Rachatsky trying to hold a steady wheel there, get a good shove, but you see Wyatt Roberts able to just drive by on the bottom right now.
And I just think it's about timing up the run and timing up the pass sometimes. Sometimes it's not the best time to go up there and make contact and actually physically push the car out there. You know, sometimes it's better to almost back up and generate a run to push that leader out, right? And sometimes it's better, you know, to just to just be right up on them right now. I think right now that's what Jeff needs to focus on, is right now just trying to figure out when to generate that run and when to give himself a position to go up there and push his Hendrick Motorsports teammate right there. You see now the 3. Here comes the 19 Sartaj up to the top. He's going to be side by side with his teammate here going in 1 and 2.
Yeah, Sartaj just loves getting out in the front of this field here. The 3 car and the 33 now side by side. 2 teammates gridlocked in the front of the field here.
That's JGR on that front row. And oh, JGR going to go around here out of turn 2. And another big wreck ensues here down the back stretch.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. The 3 car was just sniffing that left rear of the 19 machine, or the right rear rather, one of the rear bumpers, and just, I mean, yeah, very, very unfortunate there. 19 car on corner exit just couldn't do anything to hold it straight. That's likely going to be a fast repair use for that 19.
Finally gets bitten by the caution bug there. Take a look here off of our chopper cam. We're going to have to pay our helicopter some overtime, and we're probably running out of fuel up there. How many times we've had to go back up to him. But yeah, you see the 3 up into the right rear quarter, the 19, and you know, those are
the 16 car. Another huge hit.
Another huge hit for Jimmy Johnson in the 16. And again, we talked about it. This is the first time that the race leader kind of gets hooked up in front of the field, so you can't really expect everybody to get around it there when it's the race leader who gets hooked up the track.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Call it a broadcaster's jinx or whatever, but we thought that the further up in the pack you were, the safer you were. But we saw right there, it took out the top leader on the line on the outside, and it was initiated by the second place in line car on the top line. So pretty much the only person to get through that, I think, was probably the 48 car, as we see him without too much damage from our perspective here. Jeff Brzezinski had another car that he hit coming down across of him. I think it was the 3 car that he made contact with. Will likely be a little more damage than he already had. He already had some right front damage. You see right now the 33 car going to be given that first place starting position for the next restart.
You'll see most of these drivers elect the... it's going to be about a 50-50 split, looks like. Here comes Team Hendrick. And the 40, which is kind of aligned with the Hendrick camp. By the 21 of Justin Barkley. I guess Justin might have had a faster pair to lean back on. Because remember, he had a huge hit. One of those last crashes up into the outside wall. But seeing him come down pit road here also takes some damage.
Yeah, just... once again, the theme of this race has been the cautions, and pit road has been very, very busy as a result of it. 24 car going to get out without repairs, and that 48 car blinking out a little bit there, but looks like he will probably be able to get back on track here. 19 car and the 3 car taking their pit service and back out onto the track for the 48.
If Sartaj abusing that fast repair here. I'm trying to find them up here in the timing and scoring. It's but when he cars on the pylon here is Sartaj. It looks like he won't take that fast repair. It looks like he's gonna try to stick it out here and save that fasty for a later time, which I don't blame him honestly with how much they've been wrecking. Actually, no, Sartaj does take the fast repair here. Yeah, so less and less drivers are going to have that assurance here, and we're not even halfway done here in tonight's race.
Yeah, I mean, to say that this, I'd be curious to see how many caution laps we've run, because it feels like it's around half, but I wouldn't be able to tell you because it feels like it's all blurred together here. But hoping that this second half of the race and little chunk we have with the first half remaining can be a little more clean.
I can agree more, and I guarantee you the drivers feel the same way. But again, it's up. I bet you that some of these drivers are a little frustrated with how the race has gone. But at the end of the day, it's up to the drivers to decide whether we go under caution or if we'll get a long green flag run or whatever, right? But unfortunately for this first half, almost this first half of the race, it's just been nothing but, wrecking and wrecking. I guarantee you the pace car has probably led the most laps tonight. Just because of, everybody just being too aggressive or just not having that connection with the drivers around them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Christian. But how about that 42 car? I haven't seen them up front too much today. Going to take an opportunity to see how they can do on this next restart there. See the $42 general machine of Nick Miller, Legacy Motor Club, followed by Wyatt Roberts right behind them. Wyatt Roberts has been doing a good job of staying up front as well, despite all the incidents, as well as that 45 car in the bottom and inside lane. Just a few drivers who have, stayed out of trouble for the most part and done a pretty good job of just, maximizing what they can given the circumstances, right? That's what it's really all about. And 45 car, we haven't talked about Shane Johnson too much, but definitely I think the class of the field as far as the Toyotas are concerned, aside from the 19 car.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if the 19 can get back up to the field. Obviously got involved in that last caution. Turning all the way back in. See if we can find Sartaj here in our standings here. P18 for Sartaj. All the way back here, you'll see him going to jump up in front of some of these other guys here. But uphill battle now for the 19 after getting caught up in really his first wreck of the race here from Daytona.
And those guys got to figure out the order pretty quickly further on back by Sartaj. It looks like they will. And yeah, this field getting whittled away more and more with these cautions, but the less and less cars there are in contention, then the less and less likely it'll be for those cautions to happen, at least statistically. So we'll see as we look to start lap 88 of this event.
It'll be the 45, the 33, back to the start, the 33 on the top. A good jump by him. He leads us back to green.
Nice job clearing that 45 car as well. 42 now elects to get on behind his teammate. And Wyatt Roberts now leading the top lane.
And Wyatt's going to jump up there in front of that number 24, Thomas Flynn. It looks like Chris Otto up there as well. Now top side, look at the 33. He's going to get dumped right here. And the bottom's going to have to pick him up. That's Chris Van Maastricht. But here comes a huge one from the top side. They decide, hey, top side's coming through. And it's going to be a Toyota 1, 2, 3 on that top side.
Yeah, those Toyotas really orchestrated that very nicely to jump up outside of that lane on the inside. You know, I saw the 45 lift a little bit coming out of turn 2. I'm thinking that dragging the brake just really helped them get up towards the front, and that's the first time I've seen the outside lane prevail and be able to clear down in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's really good. Like you said, organized work there for the Toyotas to get up there 1, 2, 3. And gonna be able to continue to lead here, but here comes the top side. The 12 of Roberts gonna get help from kind of Team Hendrick there, trying to get that top side working.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, you'll take that help because no other Penske's for him to work and rely on. So for now, yeah, you just got to take the help where you can get it. And you know that also those HMS cars, they got separated too. You see Jeff Prochatsky all the way back on the bottom lane. Then that Napa Auto Parts 9 car further back as well. So going from having all 400 cars to being all split up, you know, teammates are where you find them, right, Christian?
No, exactly, right? I mean, Wyatt has shown through the last season that he's going to be a very, very knowledgeable and really good person to work with throughout the race here. And I think that's why Team Hendrick is okay working with that 12 right now. Obviously, not even the same manufacturer, not the same team. But right now, you see that top side starting to surge. You see 3 wide for the back, the 42 getting put in the sucker hole of Nick Miller.
Yeah, and that was a close one. Once again, the 3 on the top of 3 wide here. Got to be careful.
You'll see 3 by 3 back there. The 3 put that top side by himself. Going to get back in line. Now back to 2 by 2. Further back here, we'll go back up the race for the lead. Wyatt Roberts trying to make the top work as much as they can.
Wyatt Roberts in a good spot here to keep that momentum moving forward.
You'll see the 45. Oh, from the 23. Trying to make something work. You see that, you know, the 33, that kind of that lone Chevy right now outside of the, the 200 cars right there, trying to make that bottom work. Kind of in no man's land right now. You have 2 Toyotas in front of you, and then a Ford and then a Ford right behind you, Chris Van Maastricht.
Yeah, and this is where you just got to start logging laps, right, Christian? This is where you get into a rhythm, find people you know you work well with, and just start shoving. Because right now, you know, the aggression level has been established. Everybody knows that, you know, they're not going to cut each other too much slack. And if you step out of line, someone's going to take advantage of you. So you need to make sure that you're being defensive in the right ways, right? And so for now, yeah, you just got to be mindful of that.
Yeah, you got to be mindful of just trying to make sure. Oh, a little bit of contact between the 40 and that 43 machine. I think everybody's going to keep it back going forward here. The 40 of Isaac Wilson, I believe that is, making his way back up through the field here. And, you know, Isaac had a, you know, was up here towards the front at the very, very start of the race. Got involved in a couple of wrecks, but back up here trying to make some moves once again here as we approach halfway.
Yeah, doing a good job here on the top lane. Isaac Wilson dragging along the 12 car of Wyatt Roberts and the 24 machine as well of Thomas Flynn. These guys are getting pretty organized now, getting the hang of this, which is really good to see halfway through this event. Ooh, got to be careful though. The 23 car jumps to the inside of his 2311 teammate in the 45.
Yeah, you'll see them side by side here, further on back. Trying to make something happen. You'll see the 45. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle by the 23 there. But once again, we've seen it once again. Now here comes the 33 to the top side. Now a fake out. Now another block from the James Bulls. James Bulls loose on the apron. Going to try to merge up safely. And there goes the 38.
Single car spin. We will likely stay green here. Wow, that could have been a lot worse.
Chris Van Maastricht. Good save by him, but that's kind of separated some of the field out here. They're going to be single file, 1-2 for the lead here. And I mean, once again, we saw this in the ARC race, right? Maybe this is the time to maybe go single file. We still have 35 laps to go on the stage. Maybe it's time to settle down, but no, back to 2x2. Here comes Team Hendrick to the top.
Yeah, I mean, we got to take baby steps here. We got to set a goal of making it to that stage finish before we even start thinking about, long-term, racing to the checkered flag here. I mean, we are not even halfway through this event, and these guys are continuing to race like it's, crunch time coming to 10 to go. I'm trying to find out where you can run. How about Jeff Rachatsky in that 9 machine of Cody Meadows working up towards the front of that pack, 4th and 5th in line on the top lane.
Yeah, here comes Team Hendrick again. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you can count that Junior Motorsports entry. Just kind of aligned with the Hendrick camp. The Team Chevy with a point there on that top side.
Yeah, and how about that top lane now prevailing from the bottom? I'm thinking that the drivers that elected to go to the top, they're like, hey, I got nothing to lose. Why not give it a try? And now you see the Toyotas nowhere to be found on that top line for the time being. First Toyota we see is that 45 car, and then the 23 way back behind the 3 on the top line. So those Toyotas getting shuffled around here now.
I think they're trying to get Jeff clear to go back down to the bottom for that 40 machine. I know they're probably orchestrating that. Jeff's going to give the clear if he can, but no. Here comes the bottom side again with that dominant run. Here comes the 45 is Shane Johnson now, side by side with the 40, with the 24 now. Now with the 40, with the 48. My apologies. Battle for P3.
Yeah, that 48. I saw his nose peeking out just halfway mid corner in turn 4. He's getting a little out of shape, but yeah, I mean, just peeking like that, it can give the person in front of you the wrong impression, thinking that you're trying to make a move to their inside. And as soon as someone gets a wiggle, that can really get everybody out of shape in a line. See right there, the 33 trying to give good pushes to that 45 car. 3 different manufacturers, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd on the bottom lane, though.
Yeah, well, I think for that 48, when you saw him jump out of line there, getting around the 36 there, Bryson Bird, I think the 48 was just trying to side draft, and I think he's probably communicating that to his Hendrick teammates. Hey, we need to go down there and side draft that bottom line if we want to make this top work. So, and I think that's probably what was happening, was a little bit of side drafting there, because here comes the top side again with a little bit of a run. Here comes the 48 to the bottom.
Yeah, I agree with that analysis, Christian, and especially so because, the side drafting is a high risk, high reward kind of situation, but we see the top lane prevailing, so obviously they've been doing something right. Now the 48 Hendrick Motorsports car, though, of Chris Otto, he's going to decide, I want to lead this lane. Ooh, almost looked 3 wide further back there with the 3 car and Jeff Rachatsky in the 5 in that blue and white HendrickCars.com machine.
Another lap car pushing there. That's the 10 machine going to go lap down there. Eric Jorgensen, he'll go down to 3 laps down now in that Colleague entry. So Team Colleague, not the start of the season they wanted, is now they have Jimmy Johnson back there further on back, and now the 10. Obviously kind of the secondary car there for Team Colleague, going now back to 3 laps down there for Eric.
Yeah, obviously an unfortunate start to the season for Colleague Racing, but nonetheless, we see the Hendrick Motorsports teammates really doing a good job up front here. The 4 team cars and the 1 affiliate car, the 40 Traveler Whiskey machine of Junior Motorsports. All these guys are in a really good spot here, riding in line. And I'm just like I talked about, Christian, these guys have organized it, they've figured it out, and they know how to run cleanly now. That 45 car, though, just fading ever so slightly up the racetrack. You just got to make sure that you don't clip someone's rear bumper as you go through these corners. Enrique Cucalone, also 3 wide there now, further back.
I think he just drops to the back there. Now you're starting to see the double foul here for the race lead there. I saw Cody Meadows on that top side. A little upset there in that number 9 machine. But, yeah, I really like what, Team Hendrick has done right now. You've got 2 cars leading both lines there, and now you can kind of dictate where the runs go. Like if you want to stay side by side, right, and that bottom starts to go, you can ask that 48, maybe to drag the brake, maybe to lift it a little bit, to keep the, to keep these guys side by side here, to not allow, that 45 or Shane Johnson to maybe jump up and spoil the party there, or maybe the 33 to go up there. But here comes the 60 of Jeff Weimer. He's going to really slow up the bottom here. And they're going to try to have to split him 3 wide now, and the top's going to have a huge run. We'll see. Maybe they all drop down to the bottom now. We'll have to see here if Jeff can get clear.
That might end up working out, but in all actuality, that should not have happened. And just like you mentioned it, Christian, all Hendrick cars trying to get sorted out there on the bottom lane. Chris Otto going to get strung out on the top. But, man, that was way, way too close. Should not be on the bottom of the racetrack as a lap car unless you're forced to stay down there. Got to get to the outside lane. That's where you got to be if you're a lap car. But for the time being, Hendrick continuing to command this pack.
Yeah, I will give this to Jeff, right? He's trying to put himself in a good spot to not lose the lead pack, right? If you just sit up there on the top side, there's a pretty big chance that you lose the lead draft there, right? So I can see where he's coming from to a point where if you sit on the bottom, it kind of puts everybody in a bad spot in a way to where you can get back in line, right? But at the end of the day, right, you can't be doing that, right? I mean, there's so many other people who are racing for so much more. Granted, he's in the lead pack. He got what he wanted, right? He's going to be the first car eligible for a lap down for the lucky dog if he's not in the wreck, right? And obviously, every wreck we've seen tonight's been the big one. So it's going to be, interesting to see if Jeff can put himself in a good position here to get the lucky dog. If we get the caution, either we're going to get a caution for stage 2, whether that comes before an actual, wreck yellow flag, that's going to be something we have to look at here. But right now it seems like since Team Hendrick is taking the point here, looks like things have started to tame down here. Everybody's starting to figure out that, okay, let's just ride around for a little bit, maybe try to get to the end of the stage here.
Yeah, I totally agree, and this definitely mirrors a lot of the super speedway racing that we would see at Daytona for so long before the fuel saving kind of became a consequence of the car and the and the stage racing that we see today in the Cup Series. But a lot of the time, yeah, once these guys figured it out, they would just ride in line, either choo-choo train or ride side by side. But this is just kind of indicative of this style of racing, right? So I'd much rather have this than everybody trying to jockey for position and take out more and more cars. So at least for the time being, these guys, with more than halfway through this event completed now, are just finally sorting this out between each other.
I haven't seen this kind of Team Hendrick dominance even in real life in a while, so it's kind of a nice breath of fresh air to Team Hendrick up here, all 4 cars, including kind of this 40 machine, kind of a sister car here with these Hendrick cars just out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quite literally here. The next car in line, that 42 of Nick Miller, back there for Legacy Motor Club. But it's a nice breath of fresh air just to see these guys out here. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just leading the field here. It kind of reminds me of some other teams that have gotten who were really good at it. Like you look back at 2018, Stuart Haas Racing, who really figured it out when it came to the super speedway packages.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Christian. And you see now 3 wide, that top lane forming, whether those drivers like it or not, might present an opportunity for someone to jump up there and take that momentum away. But yeah, you bring up a good point about just the Hendrick domination we're seeing here today. And I mean, definitely reminiscent of days past, because now there's just so much diversity with the dominance that we see in the Cup Series. And obviously, when you're in the front of these fields, I've been sim racing before, I've been in leagues. It feels good to be around your friends. It feels good to be around people that you work well with. It gives you confidence, and it also gives you, physically peace of mind, because that your track position is protected by those around you. So for a lot of these guys right now, it's definitely going to be a big morale boost, as I keep mentioning.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a big confidence boost for these drivers, right? You have all of your teammates around you completely stacking up the top 5. Here comes the 3rd lane now. Now Team Hendrick's going to have to figure out who do they block here. You see the 9, Cody Meadows, jumping up to the top side, blocking the 3. But here comes the help from the top side here. Now, what do? You see the 40. Does the 40 jump up and block the top? And maybe they go 3 by 3. Hendrick on top there. But now, we saw the block there. We saw the momentum kind of die out. Now the 3 and that 44 starting to drop pretty to the back like they were before.
Yeah, this is turning into a very dynamic learning experience for all these guys who haven't been racing 3 wide at the very front of the pack without problems. And we see getting into the outside wall maybe a little bit, the 3 car. I'm just so surprised that those 2 cars in the 3rd lane were able to draft up to the front and be able to even, you know, present a threat to those guys in the first two rows, for example. But yeah, the 44 and the 3 working really well together, honestly. So definitely maybe something to keep an eye on as this race progresses.
And 2 Chevy teammates, technically, the 44 and the 3, trying to work together there. That's, you know, Matt Metler and Michael Thorpe's Jr. here. So a little bit of contact there. Once again, a huge run building again from the 3 and the 44. Now the 40 looks like he's going to shade high to try to potentially block that run. And once again, I think the 3 might, no, not get there quite. Once again, they just get a huge run, but it just dies out so quickly. I don't know if that's something that's going to help, that they're going to need a little bit of help if they're going to want to try to make that run and continue to work.
Yeah, you know, for me, it's just, you know, keep logging laps, guys. You know, don't be too overzealous just because we haven't had a caution in a while. It could all happen in the blink of an eye. So right now, just got to make sure that you're finding people you can work well with.
Catching a lap car here, so that 3 is going to have to find a spot to get back in line. If they want to try 4 wide here, I wouldn't suggest doing that. And there we go, back down to 2 wide. They'll get back in line here as they lap to 38 of Chris Van Maastricht. And then now they can maybe build a run if they want to here, coming into 3 and 4 to try to jump out of line. Actually, the 7 of Ben Ruse, making his first time start in the Cup Series, actually splits up that, well, it did split up the 3 and the 44. Now you see the 3 and the 44 jumping to the bottom side.
Yeah, and I got to commend these Hendrick Motorsports powered cars up front because, you know, they've been doing a great job just staying organized, staying in line, giving people shoves when it's appropriate, and doing it in a way that doesn't impede all the other drivers around them. You know, we don't see the 9 and the 48 who are at the tail end of this Hendrick pack, you know, making any outlandish moves to keep these guys up front. You know, they're just really keeping pace and commanding the field, which is a term I will always mention because you really are just taking command and control over the pace of this event. You see the 40 car now dropping to the bottom of the racetrack. That leaves Chris Otto, the lone Hendrick car on the top lane for the time being, but it's a little reminiscent of this year's Daytona 500 where we had Justin Allgaier leading for a little bit of the event before having an incident of his own. But pretty cool to see, you know, history recreate itself in the sim.
Yeah, you see all Team Hendrick 1, 2 through 4 on the bottom, but here comes Cody Meadows on the top there in that 9 machine. He's going to lead, get back down in the 40. He's going to jump out of line there. He's going to back out of it. He said, I don't really want to be leading right now. He's going to leave those, you know, Hendrick Motorsports teammates, and this is exactly the can of worms that we said that Hendrick didn't really want to open up here now, because now it's, you know what, technically a Hendrick Chevy leading the field, but he's got 2 Toyotas behind him. He's got a Toyota on the top side. That's Enrique Cucalone, laps down, but still going to try to go up there and lead that top side.
Yeah, and, you know, Enrique Cucalone has every right to race for position here. You know, he's many laps down, but nonetheless has an opportunity to get some of those laps back. But for sure, Christian, and yeah, that's right, that is Cody Meadows in that 9 car. Cody Meadows did a good job getting down to the bottom of the racetrack there, but now the Hendrick cars just split up a bit there after the 40 car elected to go further back. Took some of his teammates with him in the 24 and the 5 machine. But that 3 now, the 3 car, Winchester Bass Pro Shops machine, is now in a really, really good spot here. Thorpe is going to see if he can maybe make a charge for the lead here. But that 7 car is also going to be equally as tenacious to get up there as that 7 car almost went out of shape.
Yeah, it was a really close call for them to keep it going there. Now once again, a new kind of group of guys back up to the front. We saw the 3. Michael Thorpe, he was very aggressive to get up towards the front now, but now you'll start to see some drivers start to make their way up to the front. Because remember, we're in that kind of spot where we're getting ready for green flag pit stop. So I think this is why you're starting to see some pushing and shoving. They want the track position before they make that hard left turn down pit road.
Yeah, the 48 car of Chris Otto almost had a pretty catastrophic incident there with the 10 car. The 45 car looks like their lap's down. Came down pit road maybe for an issue. Oh, you see way out of shape there, the 10 car with a push from the 48. Man, that 44 car trying to get to the inside of the 7 as well.
Yeah, that's Matt Medler. This is the furthest he's been up here towards the front as well. That number 44 New York Racing Chevy Camaro. Look at him, a huge shove to the 7. He's going to clear that. He's going to push this whole bottom side way clear of the top.
Yeah, now the separation begins, right? We had a lot of organization, and as soon as the guys that were in the front of the pack filtered back, now it's anyone's game, right? So everyone's just kind of trying to figure out if they want to be leading right now. And also the pit strategy, Christian, like we talked about. So right now, just going to be all about finding people you know you want to pit with and being in that bottom lane.
I mean, you just got to find the people where you can find them right now. And like I said, I think right now you're starting to see some aggressiveness pick up. We ran 28 laps on this stint. I believe, like I said, you can go at most of 35, but we're right in the window to make it to the end of the stage here. So it's just about when do these drivers decide to come down pit side here and take, this final stop before the end of stage 2.
Yeah, thinking about that stage 2 finish, we will be throwing the yellow and we will be bunching these cars up again. So there will be another restart to have to worry about, but these guys have done a really good job keeping it green for the last chunk of this second half of this event.
They've done a phenomenal job, keeping it together here. I think, this was a more of like, I am tired of wrecking kind of thing. And I think everybody just said, hey, even if the racing isn't good, we need to just keep this thing going green because we're running out of the cars, right? We're frankly just running out of the cars that can come up here and show up and show out. So, and obviously the single foul is nice. I think it's a nice change of pace here, especially even for us up in the broadcast booth to kind of sit back, take a deep breath, and kind of get ready for these inevitable green flag pit stops.
Yeah, and the pit cycle is always something I look forward to because of the blend that happens afterwards. So, going to be cool to see if the person who comes down first is able to keep that track position and jump out in front of everyone else. But it really is a strength in numbers game, Christian, because getting back up to speed, and as we see one car pulling off into pit lane, getting back up to speed is all about the numbers and being able to have the people pushing you that you need. And you see the 23 and the 42 only takers on pit lane this lap, so they will start this pit cycle.
Yeah, 2-car pack there, so it's gonna be interesting to see how those just 2 cars, right? I'm interested to see how just 2 cars are gonna fare versus maybe 5 or 6, because especially in these next gens, when you only have 2 cars, that bubble starts to form, and it takes a lot more work to get everybody kind of put together when it's just 2 cars leaving the pit road here. But that's kind of the first shot, right? Heard. And now it's like, okay, when does everybody else react to those 2 drivers who came down? When does the next group of guys come down? And speaking of that, we've got a little bit of a car breakaway. These Hendrick guys, I don't know what happened, but they've lost the front pack here. So just like we saw last night with the ARC guys, it's a 5-car breakaway for that front pack. And then further back here, Thomas Flynn kind of getting held up by this 45 of Shane Johnson. He's a lap down, but all these guys just trying to fight to get back with that lead pack.
That's a good point, Christian. That lap car might be hindering the ability of those Hendrick machines to make it up towards the front. Chris Otto separated from the rest of his Hendrick Motorsports teammates. And man, yeah, that's just really unfortunate because of how well they were working together up in the front. Now, obviously, like we mentioned, there will be the stage yellow, so they will get bunched up again. But nonetheless, I mean, it just kind of goes to show that as soon as things shift around just one little bit, it can really throw off the... you can really just throw off the cadence of these cars that work well together.
No, I definitely agree, and it's, I don't know, maybe Shane's a little bit slower if he's got a little bit of damage, which is holding them back, but, I mean, they were losing time and losing it quick compared to that front pack. I mean, it's a 5-second advantage back to Larry Fairman, and now to 33, who's also somehow gone a lap down, I believe. Yeah, Miguel's also gone a lap down. Jimmy Johnson also a lap car up here. Actually, the first car lap down is that 16 of Jimmy Johnson. So, there's more numbers in that second pack, but these guys up front still continuing to pull away.
Yeah, I mean, that deficit continuing to grow from just over 4 seconds to now well over 5 seconds from 5th place to 6th place of Thomas Flynn. You see right there, the 16 car had a lot of damage earlier on in the race. The 16 car is 1 lap down, but nonetheless trying to help out with this lead pack here. And it really is, helpful even having those cars that are lap cars if they have their damage fixed. It's like jump on the train, help us out, help us draft, help us push, help us shove. You also see Enrique Cucalone many laps down, but still helping them out as well. So, a lot of implications here, but with the pit strategy, these guys are going to be coming down at different times. And, this stage finish is definitely going to be the biggest thing on these guys' mind because, like I said, we got to take baby steps. We got to set goals within the bigger goal. And that smaller goal within the grand scheme of winning the race is obviously getting on pit road cleanly and getting off pit road with people that you can work with. So right now the 7 car of Ruse is definitely taking the lead here as we see the 33 car jumping out of line. Not quite sure where he's trying to go. That he's going to be slowing down this pack if he goes side by side. But obviously RCR teammates further back in that first lead pack.
And he's going to, contact with his teammate there, actually. Did a 33. I mean, if you want to do anything, help your teammate just by not forcing the issue there. Because now it's kind of stacked everything back up there. You see that, these two Chevy Camaros starting to pull away with just this 2-car tandem after everybody can kind of jockey together. And if anything, that's allowing, if there's any shot, an opportunity for that second pack to catch back up.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to give that second pack any opportunity here to get an advantage. Worst case scenario, is that this first pack, slows each other up so much that the second place pack can catch back up. And the 7 car now hands over the lead to Mettler in the 44 machine. Little blink there from the 16 car riding third in line. 7 of the 33 trying to peek out. And that 7 car will now go from leading the race to 5th on back.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, nonetheless, how this all shakes out here. We'll pick up these guys. I don't think we'll be able to pick up the one here, Mike. I think he's going a little bit too slow. That might actually give another car to the second pack here if he can get back up to speed here. See him off the gearbox there. Really slow. Really slow. Now he's picking up the gas here a little bit, but he'll definitely get swallowed up by that second pack. But still, this front pack continuing to pull away 7.5 seconds back to the sixth place car of man.
You see Thorpe now finally able to get up to the back bumper of Chris Otto a few times. Thorpe and his teammate in the 33 machine, those guys have been really, really aggressive throughout the race so far. I would keep an eye on them as we get close to our stage finish here moving forward. And obviously, if both of those cars are around at the end of the race, I'm definitely thinking that they are going to be strong contenders for the race win.
I definitely agree. They're going to be contenders if they can keep themselves in a spot here to, keep the track position. And keep themselves in the spot. Remember, we're only 5 laps away from pit stops here, so from the stage in here, so I was completely wrong about the fuel window. I thought, at least in the duels, that they couldn't go any more than 35. Everybody in this lead pack here has gone 38. So if they're saving and that might be a big reason why maybe this backpack might be trying to save as much as they can, is maybe they think that they can't make it all the way, and these guys are just trying to run it out and not really worry about fuel saving.
No, that's a really good point, Christian, and definitely thanks to that clarification, we now understand that staying out here is going to give all this top few stage points, but they are actually going to have some takers here, the 44, the 7, and the 3. Oh, the 16 makes contact with the 3 coming onto pit road. A spin now. Oh, man.
And that's going to slow them down big time there. Obviously, the 16 off the lead pack, but not even on the lead lap, but that's going to be huge. But we look back here, Otto and Fairman, the lone 2 cars in this lead pack who are going to stay out. They're going to keep with Cucalone, and they're going to keep with the 33. Like a little 4-car pack here. Now, if you're this second pack, can you catch up in time, or is it still a fuel mileage race? Are you guys really trying to save enough to make it to the end without pitting? And if you're these two cars up here, can you even make it without pitting?
Man, I don't know. That deficit is huge. You can see it already. 12 seconds to the front four. That is just a pretty insurmountable amount of time, I think, before the stage finish sums up. But I'm not sure, Christian. I mean, that really leaves me scratching my head, because I think that pack with way more cars would be able to make that, you know, make that hard charge up towards the front.
Oh, see the 16 up and almost making contact there. I want to go on board with this 48. I want to hear if it sounds like he is not revving this car out. And I'll say this is an advantage for the 48, because he does have a car who is not on the lead lap, right? Who he can just sit behind and save fuel behind. The same thing with Larry. So if they can just keep almost match the pace with the second pack, right? That's all they have to do when it comes to saving to get to the end here. This could be a really big point swing here for this 48 team.
Yeah, big points day for sure.
I wish on our telemetry we could actually get a good gauge of RPMs here, but unfortunately, because we are spectating, and because of not inclusivity of kind of the drivers, we can't really get RPMs and stuff in the sim. But I'd really love to see what RPMs look like. To see it, definitely, if it is a 10 out of 10, they are trying to save behind, these lap cars here. Larry Fairman dropping in front of the 7 there, trying to make something happen, but you still see that gap continuing to at least hover around this, 12, 13 second gap here for these front two drivers as they get 3 to go here in stage number 2.
3 to go in stage 2. This is where things are going to get a little feisty in terms of racing for those stage points. I mean, the thing is, Christian, all these guys got to realize, like, hey, if we just keep it together, we're all winners, right? We all get stage points. So, I don't think that they should be trying to do too much necessarily to take them out of contention for some stage points.
And these guys saving fuel, yeah, you're going to see some of these drivers, like the 33 and the 38, they're going to jump out of line. They're going to try to unlap themselves the hard way here. Now the 33 up inside the lead lap there. Now he's back up to 15th, 49 seconds behind the lead draft here. Chris Van Mastrick trying to go from 2 laps down to 1 lap down. These guys might have came down pit road here. A little bit of a blink here in the session, but regardless, still back. But these guys might be able to unlap themselves the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, how incredible would that be, getting a lap back after this super, super long green flag run? Loving this in comparison to the first half of the race, so definitely hope that these guys can continue this momentum here with the green flag racing. But yeah, right now, I mean, you see that gap to the second place pack, 11 seconds, and continuing to grow little by little.
No, I was about to say, it's not growing though. It's shrinking very, very quickly here. They need to get to the line here. I think the stage will come out here on lap 30, not at the completion. So it's going to be up to Chris Otto. See if he can get back to the line, he's going to win stage number 2. Chris Otto gets stage number 2. And it's going to be Larry Fairman looking further back here. Justin Barkley across the stripe. Here comes Jeff Buchatsky. He's going to finish P4 in the stage. Caution will wave here. So Chris Otto, stage winner number 2 here from Daytona.
Wow. I mean, got to give props to all those guys for keeping it green there throughout the entirety of that last big segment of stage 2. I mean, yeah, just completely turned this race on its head with regard to the pace that we were running at before. Logged in a lot of good laps. Had some pit cycles for some people, and then also, we just had, riding in line and working together with everyone around you. And also, that domination from the Hendrick cars throughout that stage. So, hopefully a sign of things to come here. But, yeah, a good amount of stage points picked up here from a lot of guys. And we're going to have some more people coming down pit road pretty soon.
And just over halfway here, we're approaching the 3/4 marks here tonight here from the Daytona 500. We're going to go ahead and take a step back and take a quick commercial break here. Get ready for the last stage here, stage 3. As we get ready to go back in here with around, 65 to go here. But we'll be right back on the other side of this commercial break.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
As we welcome everybody back to the World Center of Racing here for the iSNF Cup Series. We just got done with stage number 2. Chris Otto got it done in that number 48 Hendrick Motorsports Ally Camaro. As we get ready for stage 3 once again. Hello, my name is Christian. I got it alongside Matthew, and Matthew obviously a chaotic first 2 stages, but I'm getting ready to get the one to green here this time by. Looking forward to stage number 3.
Yeah, I mean, what a contrast stage 1 to stage 2 was. We had the craziness and, got all the jitters out in stage 1. And stage 2, towards the end, we had some really good green flag racing, some good teamwork. And I think that that's going to be really indicative of what we have for the remainder of this race. So looking forward to seeing what these drivers can put on for us here in the iSNF Cup Series season opener for season 11. 133 of 200 laps complete here at Daytona. Christian, I think this is a good time to maybe start thinking about a favorite, right? We've seen a few guys cycle to the front of the field, a few guys cycle back. A lot of favorites here up in the booth personally, but I got to go with my brother Jeff Perchatsky. He had a really fast car throughout stage 1 and stage 2. Got a little bit of damage. Not sure if he has that fast repair still. You see currently 3rd, low of 28th. Took on some damage from a few incidents earlier in the race and has just really kept the car together and been in contention here. And he knows how to get it done at Daytona. He's been able to wheel it a few times in some other officials, but I mean, yeah, just definitely a favorite of mine in that HendrickCars.com number 5.
Well, before we get green here, I'm gonna have to go. I told some of the guys up here in my live chat here that I'd give the Hendrick boys some love as well. So Cody Meadows, he pushed me to a league win here at these super speedways not that too long ago. Got to go with my good friend Cody up here in the 9 machine. So 2 Hendrick machines. We have our favorites to come up here and win tonight here from Daytona, but getting ready to go green here. Going to be once again another Hendrick Chevy, as going to be the 48 Chris Otto. Back to the stripe here, back green here to start stage number 3.
A little bit of separation here on both lanes. 21 car on the top, not able to get up to speed too nicely. That's Justin Barkley. Haven't spoken too much of him today. Was caught up on an incident earlier on the race. And now, Justin Barkley able to find himself leading that top lane, but you just see him getting swarmed on that bottom line.
The top is not formed at all. You see the 21 there. I believe that's the 41 of Bob Wyckoff in that Haas factory team Chevy Camaro. Not being able to do what he needs to keep that momentum up on the top side. And you're going to see those two go from the front all the way back to the back here. Sartaj, once again, going for the lead.
Yeah, look at that. So much space from that leading car in that top lane that it just allowed 3 cars entirely to create their own top lane. So right now, Sartaj back to the point in leading fashion. With the 33 car, they now both clear to the bottom of the racetrack, leaves the 23 car stranded up top.
You see Sartaj here, the driver out of Houston, Texas here. His 9th start. 1 win under his belt here, and obviously his first full-time campaign here for Go Gibbs Racing. And has been such a dominant car throughout the whole race tonight. Obviously, won stage number 1. I'm not sure where he finished in stage 2. Obviously, he was in one of those fuel-saving. Yeah, I believe he was in that in the second pack there with that fuel-saving strategy there. Sartaj, after coming down and taking taking fuel and everything else back up to the lead.
Yeah, really good run by Sartaj here to get back up to the front where he loves to be. And he fights for it. He knows how to maneuver his car and get around people. And I think, Sartaj has definitely been the class of the field when he's in the front. When he's buried back in the pack, though, he really can't make too much of the circumstances that he finds himself in. And we didn't really see him much towards the end of stage 2, obviously, because of how split up all the groups were and through the pit strategy. With the 19 car now, definitely in a really good spot. But how about that 3 in the top lane? Don't forget about him. The top lane does have an opportunity to carry that momentum forward if they keep clean pushes.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be in a good spot if he can continue to do what he's done best the whole race, right? Keep that number 19 out in front. He's got not a lot of help here. He's being swarmed by a bunch of Chevys behind there. As it's Chevy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it looks like 4 or 5 Chevys just trying to swarm this 19, but Sartaj, doesn't matter. He's going to try his, there goes the 33 around in the back.
Another huge wreck. And that's going to take out a lot of cars. Saw Cody Meadows get through it on the bottom. The 23 car. Looks like he's going to be suffering a lot of damage to that left front.
Yeah,
wow.
Another big one here. The 33 around. I think he got some help. Miguel did. But we'll have to take a look here on the HVTV replay once again. Take a look and see what happened here. This number 33 machine off the chopper cam one more time. Just a bad shove from his teammate there. And nowhere to go for a lot of these drivers. I think Jeff might have got through pretty unscathed there. So there's Matthew Spick there trying to make it through the field here. We're right on board with Jeff here in this number 5 Hendrick Cars machine.
You see him get through this. See right there, going fast, sliding it down, do a little dirt track in there, going through the grass. There you go.
Through goes Perchatsky, right? So a good avoidance for him. I think we saw Cody Meadows get through it as well. So good for my pick. Diesel going up in clean and green here. Obviously, everybody has a lot of dirt and debris on these cars. Obviously, 138 laps here from the World Center of Racing a lot, and you're going to see all the tire, all the rubber that these cars pick up and everything else throughout the race here. But caution back out here right off the bat here to start stage 3.
Yeah, man. I mean, just really, really unpredictable with all these crashes. I mean, that took out, or that didn't take out, but it definitely ruffled the feathers of everyone, basically second on back. You see now the 19 gonna fake out his pit road entry as he usually does. Oh no, he's actually gonna pit this time. The 19 followed by the 48, the 24, and the 10 car will take to pit lane under this yellow flag.
And faked out Matthew here in the booth. He's been so good with that. But you'll see everybody down pit side here. Once again, this is probably a way to get them to the end here. So obviously we saw them. They went almost 40 laps on fuel that last run. So if they, and I believe that was maybe with some fuel saving, I believe. So you think about it, if they can fuel save now to another 40 laps here, at the very least at 35, they get, an extra 35 can get them to 65, right? And then that 65 will get them back, to the potential finish if they want to go hard here. So it's going to be interesting to see, we saw some drivers stay out, but also quite a few come down pit side here.
Yeah, leave it to Christian to crunch those numbers for us. Obviously, pit cycle is really, really hard to understand sometimes as an outsider, but when you have it broken down like that, it makes a lot more sense. And we are looking to eclipse 3/4 of the way through this event in about 10 laps. We're going to get a really, really good idea of where these cars stand relative to one another on that fuel strategy. And, I mean, the only thing is more cautions will throw in more curveballs here. So that's going to be the only big question mark.
I definitely agree. If they can go green here, and we've seen them be able to do it. We saw them do it at the end of stage 2, so I think that they can do it again. because once again, a caution would kind of throw a wrench in everybody's plans here, especially for those drivers who came down pit road, right? So I could only hope and wish that they can just keep it green here, keep it going. But as I'll back up to the drivers to see what can happen here. And I think I did mess up my math there. I think this should get them to 75, which should definitely get them to the end of the race here if they pit, at the very edge of that fuel window. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. We obviously Jeff, he stayed out. He's got 7 laps on, this stint here. So, not too much worse than the rest of the field, but wants the track position over everything. He wants that TV time right now.
Yeah, obviously Jeff leading the pack here. Close friend of ours at the network. Been participating in the iSNF Cup Series part-time for quite a while now. It's always good to see him show up and show out. And yeah, right now, I mean, see that right there. Young guy, 9 starts. Kind of just shows up whenever he likes, and it's always fun to see him race here. Obviously, I mean, member of the Bean team, member of HVTV as a network partner, and I've had him in the booth at least once before. Would love to see him in the booth a little more, but glad to show my support from the booth side of things at least. So good to see him running up front now. Hopefully lead some laps and get under green here pretty soon.
Obviously, Jeff, he kind of does these kind of marquee events here in the Cup Series, and he's a big road guy. We've talked about it before prior in the broadcast that he's a big IndyCar, he's a big IMSA guy, and shows up. And I remember him doing Watkins Glen when I was still racing here in the Cup Series. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him show up to some road course stuff. He loves those road courses probably more than he does the ovals anymore. And then obviously he goes up to these big marquee events here in the Cup Series, like he has every other year. He shows up to the 500 and tries to put himself in a great position to doing it right now. Obviously leading the race here with just going to green here with 60 to go here, Daytona.
Yeah, 60 to go. It's a long way, but those laps can click off pretty quickly under a green flag run. So love to see that dynamic from the end of stage 2 continue here with regard to the green flag racing that we saw. So yeah, I'd be a big fan of whoever came out victorious if we were able to keep it green, not have a wreck fest. But these guys did a good job. I commend them for that. So looking forward to seeing how it goes.
We're supposed to get going green here, but obviously laid the caution here. So we'll go now back to Wonder Green this time by. So sure what caused that delay there, but regardless, we'll let the pace car lead another lap here from Daytona as we will get ready to go green now with 59 to go here as we cross the stripe.
Yeah, as we continue here at Daytona, the O'Reilly Series just about finishing up in Indianapolis, but we still have a good 60 laps of racing to go. Nowhere near over yet here on the high banks of Daytona Beach, Florida. But yeah, I mean, these guys, they, you get fatigued in the sim, right? You've been sitting, you're cramping up, and you just start to think about, man, I could go for some food right now. I could go for a nice little stretch, but yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, these guys are real warriors behind the wheel of the sim. So gotta commend them for making it this far and just hope for a pretty good race finish here coming up very soon.
And you think that, that mentality will try to hopefully, set in and they're going to want to be a little bit more docile until we get to the end of the race here and be like, because they don't want to continue to sit around and run pace laps. You think about it like the drivers in real life, right? They hate the cautions because, there's not as much stagnant air coming in the car and it just heats the car up. The same thing here in the sim, right? The longer you pace, the longer it takes for you to, have to get out of the sim and go make some food or go take a stretch or go for a walk or, just spend time with friends and family, whatever it has to be, right? So if anything, with how long it's taking here to get, to the 3/4 mark, these guys are probably want to really get this race done and over with here as we approach the 3/4 mark. But it's just interesting to see. You see definitely less and less cars showing up here as we end the race here, but it's going to be Jeff Perchatsky back into their United Rentals restart zone. Team Hendrick back to the point here, back to green here. We approach 3/4.
And good that Jeff has Cody Meadows right behind him for the push. But those two Toyotas on the top lane, can't forget about them either. Don't want to sleep on the 19 car. He knows how to maneuver and be able to manipulate where his car is to be able to take advantage of his track position.
Yeah.
See right now, the bottom lane, way out front.
I'll say yeah. Sartosh knows what he's doing, but I think so does Cody and Jeff. Remember, Cody technically is a part of, that internal Bean Team organization, and also teammates on Team Hendrick tonight here. Do you know though? And these two have also raced in other, marquee events here on the sim side. With the e-tickets over on the IDK YouTube channel, IDK Player YouTube channel. These guys have raced around each other and they're very familiar around each other, right? And if anybody could probably trust. If Jeff could probably trust anybody to push him out and be committed to him, it's going to be Cody. He's seen Cody push his other teammates here on outside of iSNF to wins and everything else, and I think Cody's going to be committed to helping out Jeff here through the long stretch.
Yeah, and we've seen the ups and downs of a lot of people in this series, and Cody is definitely one of those ones that I followed his iRacing career for a while now. There are definitely a lot of different storylines in this series, but yeah, Cody Meadows is just one of those guys that gets it done when the time is right. And he might not have the most illustrious career in sim racing, but you look at that win number 4, right? 41 starts. That's a pretty good ratio, Christian, if you ask me.
10-1, right? So, and he's got more wins than I did. And he's been racing for probably a quarter. He probably has a quarter and eighth of my starts here in the Cup Series, and he's got 4 times the wins that I do. So Cody's a very talented driver here behind the wheel, especially on those road courses. I think 2 or 3 of those wins are from road courses. The other one came from Phoenix, and I think the other one maybe came from a super speedway. So a very, very dynamic, very good driver. So and obviously he's up here when it counts here with his Hendrick teammates up here towards the front.
Yeah, obviously that bottom line prevailing with those Hendrick cars we mentioned a few times today. How about Chris Otto, though, in that Ally 48 machine on the top lane? He's thinking, hey, I want to get back with my guys. We got separated towards the end of stage 2. Why not have a run at it here?
Yeah, Chris going to do a good job trying to get himself up there. He's got those Hendrick teammates around him who can jump up if he needs the help potentially to get that top side going. But right now, Chris doing his own thing right now, trying to make that top side work. Here comes, now the 24 of Thomas Flynn. He jumps up to the top side.
Thomas Flynn, reigning champion from the iSNF Cup Series. You see the 7 car, though, looking to spoil the Hendrick party. Though it is a Hendrick-powered machine, 7 car not affiliated directly with Hendrick Motorsports. How cool would it be for the 7 car of Ruse to make it through this crazy event? Pick up a victory here.
You look at the top 7 cars, they're all Hendrick-powered Chevys outside of maybe the New York Racing Chevy Camaro, but still, all Team Chevy up here towards the front. Top 7 here with those bow ties.
Yeah, those bow ties has definitely been commanding the second half of the race. A little bit out of shape, though, for that 24 car. That's going to split up the Hendrick duo of Chris Otto and Thomas Flynn.
And Otto's going to drop all the way to the back there. Not what you wanted to see out of there, but still that bottom side working really hard there. Perchatsky still out leading the field tonight here. Trying to make something happen here. We approach the 3/4 mark in tonight's race.
Yeah, I gotta love that out of Jeff. Doing a really good job here. Hasn't had that front row leading position all race. So to see him jump up here and act like he's been here before, a lot of confidence that comes from commanding that front of the field.
Yeah, definitely a good job by the 5 to continue to get that bottom rolling, right? But the top side rolling here with that 24 of Glenn. Where does he go? Does he jump to the top, or will he stay with Cody Meadows on this bottom side?
Cody Meadows just working together, being that team player that Jeff needs him to be. Christian, you know that very well after that race that you guys had very recently at Daytona, picking up that win thanks to Cody Meadows and helping out. So he is a really good team player, and what better person to have behind you as a team affiliate and as just a member of the Bean team and the network. You have way more confidence and trust in one another as a result of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see this, 2 drivers that are sponsored by the network leading the field here in the Cup Series, right? Obviously, Jeff played with the network, and then we also sponsored Cody as a network here because we believe in the driver and his abilities. So it's cool to see these two working 1-2, working together, leading this field here as we approach lap 150.
And for those of you who don't know, Jeff races real cars as well for track days, and so Jeff loves the sim just as much as he likes going out on rides with his car club, and also just going out and visiting the track, helping out his Honda Racing team on the IndyCar side of things. And to be able to jump in the sim here and, you know, carry that love for racing and cars is just really cool. And obviously for the past 6 years been involved with Christian and the network in one capacity or another, from the NR 2003 side of things, NASCAR Heat 4 and 5 and Ignition side of things, and then into the iRacing phase of just our overall friendship that we have over here at the network. Really cool to see him leading the field right now.
Start to see a third lane emerge here. Thomas Flynn in that 24. He jumped up to the top side, was getting help from, you know, some more Hendrick teammates there. The 40, National Motorsports machine, Isaac Wilson. You see the 48 back there. Chris Otto trying to make that third lane work. And now we approach that three-quarter mark. It's going to be the 5 of Jeff Prochatsky is this here in the lap 150.
Ooh, that 60 car purple machine with the Greg Biffle tribute from earlier this year at the Daytona 500 in the Cup Series. He looked like he wanted to jump out of line and go 3 wide too. But that 40 car, the Traveler Whiskey JRM machine, falling back way more. Yeah, we talked about Jeff Weimer a few times, Christian. He was a lap down, and he was almost in an incident earlier on in the race. But right now, just working together with that 24 car. How about that run he's giving him?
Yeah, I was teammates with Jeff for a couple seasons there when he used to drive the 2 car for Team Penske, and he's such a, you know, nice guy when you don't make him angry, right? And he's such a good teammate. So, and look at him, you know, regardless, right now he's the first car lap down. I think that's why he's pushing this 24 out. I think he wants to get up and get back on the lead lap here if they'll let him do it. And, you know, I don't think these Hendrick cars are just going to roll over and let him take it, even though he's doing a good job pushing Thomas up to the race, trying to get him up to the race lead at the very least. But, no, Jeff doing a good job pushing that 24 back up there. Now they're going to be almost side by side for the race lead going here into turn 3.
You know, I got to be honest, Christian. Jeff Weimer had a really, really good overall push throughout the entirety of that back straightaway. You know, I might not be, affiliated with him via team or even know him that well, but, oh, as you see there, just as I say that, way out of shape.
It's, a big crash in the back.
Big hit for the 41 car.
Johnson
the 12 of Y. Roberts also involved.
That might have been a case of commentator's curse right there. So, Jeff, we apologize up here in the booth for that one. But look here on the chopper cam. Jeff doing a good job.
You know, I want to
pushing the 24
keep
out.
an eye on that 42 car.
Yeah. I'll have to see what happened here. I think right there, a little bit of a bad shove to the 24, and I don't think the 42, we saw this again, didn't really realize what was going on in front of him. It's hard to see when you're tucked up behind someone like that close, and I just don't think that the 42 saw that. Jeff was checking up. He gave a little bit of a bad push there. Got in the back of Jeff, sent him around, and then we'll go back to the number 16 here. It was kind of 2 separate incidents. I think both, you know, kind of as a result here. You'll see, the 16 gets hooked by the 44 and then grabs the 11. Looks like the 41 as well. Looks like Y. Roberts barely gets tagged there in a little bit, but Justin Johnson, a lot more damage than we all expected him to have there in that wreck. We'll go back and look at Justin. How the damage looks here for this National Debt Relief. Yeah, definitely the right side really tore up here on Justin's car here, but and he's used that fast repair is the big thing I want to talk about. I'm interested to see if iRacing will let him continue to grab this car, because it looks like that right front's like it's broken.
Yeah, he's fighting that car, trying to keep it from steering right. Yeah, that toe link is definitely bent out of shape.
Not only
really
that,
unfortunate for the 11.
Not only that, I see him e-ball for the 11, which probably means after 153 laps, he is not going to be able to see the checkered flag, which is For someone who's been in this situation before, it's heartbreaking to see that for anybody tonight. You've been sat here for what now? What, almost 3 hours of racing here, and you're gonna get wrecked out within the last 50 laps. I feel so bad for anybody who gets caught up in any of these wrecks here late in the race, but it looks like this might be one and done here for Justin.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And I mean, that's just how it goes sometimes, right? And if it didn't happen to him, it might have happened to anyone else. But yeah, for somebody who, yeah, you see that, was leading the race at one point and didn't really fall beyond halfway through this entire field throughout the entire day, you know, just really unfortunate, honestly. And I mean, what more can you do other than, you know, just applaud him for his performance today, and, you know, hopefully he picked up some stage points in stage 1 and 2, so he could at least walk away from this with a little bit of, you know, motivation to look positively on today. But nonetheless, yeah, this will definitely overshadow any stage points he might have accumulated.
Tough break for the 11. Obviously, his debut here for JGR, I believe. Because I believe when he got picked up here for iSNF, he went straight into the Penske organization, the Penske kind of R&D, whatever you want to call it here. Obviously, not the debut he wanted, not only for Joe Gibbs, but as a team owner. This, you know, he bought, you know, the ownership here for season 12 here for JGR, and obviously not the finish he wants to start off here. See him pull down pit road. No, he's going to continue to stay out here.
Yeah.
I think he knows that if he goes down there, it's not going to let him come back out. So I think he's trying to run as many laps as he can until he either gets DQ'd or until he, you know, inevitably will have to be forced to come down pit road. Because when you get a black flag or a meatball like that, you have to come down pit road. You can't. The sim will not let you just, you know, limp it around here. So sooner or later, he's going to have to either, he's going to have to come down pit road, because if he doesn't, he's going to get DQ'd and he's going to be dead last. So by the looks of it, there's still 23 cars who are still on track here. So if at the very worst, he's going to finish like 24th here tonight, which is definitely not the finish he wants, but trying to limp around, hope for some other drives to DNF before he gets out of that car.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. We see the lights off on the pace car. Definitely going to be a little bit of an interesting restart here, as we see the Hendrick cars back to form in the front of the field.
That's going to be the 24. Pretty, right? The Junior Motorsports entry there. Isaac Wilson, right? And then 7 and the 5. Ben Rugers and Jeff Perchatsky, Cody Meadows. So it's outside. I mean, it's once again a Hendrick engine top 5. And you look further back there, the 34 of Larry Fairman in that front row machine. He's gotten caught up in a lot of incidents tonight there. He's battled back up here inside the top 6. And then Bob Wyckoff, what a, you know, if he could stay up here, what a finish this would be for Bob. You know, Bob, outside of the super speedways, unfortunately hasn't had the best success here in the cups, on the cup side of things. But him sitting here in the top 7 right now, putting himself in a really good spot to put together a good race tonight here from Gold Center Racing.
Yeah, and how about that 41 car? Just really unlucky with the amount of incidents he was involved with today. But nonetheless, you see Bob right there, prim and proper in his picture. 210 starts, 56 years old. We love the amount of diversity we have in the iSNF Cup Series. But he's going to get ready to go green here as we restart from the World Center of Racing.
See Bob there on the inside, getting back up through the gears here. Got to see some Dyson through the field. Guess what? Guess who's the benefactor there? Jeff Perchatsky. He moved his way up from second all the way back up to P4. Gets the countdown from Isaac Wilson there. The issue is a little bit out in front here. The drivers, I mean, luckily he's got 2 teammates there leading both lines there, so it doesn't really matter what happens here. But looks like this bottom side is going to catch back up here to Jeff and Isaac here going into 3.
Yeah, you see right there, that top lane, pretty organized. You see the push from the 24 and the 7 on the bottom as well, though. Ooh, that 34 car getting the 9 way out of shape.
And Cody Meadows, huge wiggle out of the 34, pushing him. That's Larry Fairman. Almost a devastating push once again. We've seen it time and time again. Push is starting to get more and more aggressive as the race goes on. Luckily, Larry was able to back off, let Cody save that machine there. Get ready to go through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, that was just good, you know, communication without actually being able to talk to one another, with being able to let off and let the 9 car gather it back up there. I mean, man, way to cut the 9 and brake for sure, and not just pile drive through them. But now you see the pushing starts, right? The 5 and the 40, the 7 and the 24, the 34 and the 9. These guys are definitely going to be jockeying for position very, very soon here.
And remember, I always want to go back to these past relationships. Cody ran for Team Penske. We know that. Almost won a championship in that 12 machine. And front row and Penske are aligned. So Larry knows Cody pretty well here. And I feel like he feels comfortable pushing that 9. Obviously, he needs to be a little bit more careful than what he was there. So once again, I think Cody's put himself in a good spot here because he's got a new alliance with Hendrick, but he's got all those relationships he's made from the Ford side, really from the Ford family, right? With Team Penske and RFM and all those guys, right, who know how Cody races and knows, that they can work with him in these situations here. So I think Cody's in a really good spot here as he's switched over to Team Chevy, Team Bowtie. See him try to get back to the 40 there of Isaac Wilson.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, Christian, because just because you switch car makes or you switch teams doesn't mean that you switch who you work together with and who your friends are, right? Everybody respects everyone else's decisions, both in real life and on the sim side of things, with regard to choosing where you go and where you take your sim career. And so for those guys to just know how they operate and work with one another is pretty cool to see, honestly.
It's really cool to see, and obviously Cody up there inside that top 4, really still a Hendrick dominant top 4. It's really cool to see. Once again, I talked about it earlier, Hendrick being up there, and really ever since the Toyotas kind of died down and just kind of got caught up in their own mess, right? Really the only Toyota that's still up here competitive in the pack is the 42 of Nick Miller back here finding his P's and Q's, as well as Sartaj Maan, right? You talk about Sartaj, she was one of the most aggressive drivers for that first half of the race, but now with under 50 to go, he's back here minding his P's and Q's, just trying to get that car to the end, and then sooner or later that 19 is going to pop out and strike here when no one expects it.
Yeah, and I love to see that out of Sartaj because, I mean, I mentioned it, like he loves being out in the front, but when he needs to ride in line and be a good soldier, for lack of a better term, that's exactly what he's able to find out for himself. And so, yeah, if he's able to stay in touch, stay in contention here, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he was able to, jump step somebody and just turn on the boosters, because that's what you're going to need coming down towards the latter end of this event here.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you need. Looking forward into the next 40 laps here. We approach 40 to go here. These laps starting to count down here from the Daytona 500, right? And I feel like this is the only time where the aggressiveness should start to pick up here. Drivers start to figure out who they want to work with, or they want to put their car here for success here later in the race.
Yeah, and these 40 laps, Christian, I think if we stay green, these are really going to click by way quicker. As we see way out of line, the 7 car, maybe a little bit out of shape, decided he had to pull down a little bit to get it gathered up. He'll slot back right in front of the 41 machine we were just talking about as the restart happened of Wyckoff. Now we got 4 wide. This is where you got to be careful, Christian, right? We've seen so many times cars trying to get in line, cars pushing up from the bottom of the racetrack. The slightest contact can send these cars around. Now, Christian, you've been in the sim a long time, and you've raced these next-gen cars quite a bit. Talk to us about how much of a handful these things are to save after they go around.
Especially here at these super speedways, right? Really in general with these next gens, if you get the thing out of whack to where you can't just kind of like save it with the wheels, you just kind of have to lock it down, and that's just not something you can do here at these super speedways. You guys are going full bore. Looks like if you look at the timing sheets, almost 200 miles an hour. It looks like into the corners are going about 185, right? You can't expect everybody to check up for you if you lose control of the car, and that's why we kept seeing those big checkups and those big wrecks, is because someone gets a bad push, they tried to save it. Really the only thing they can do is kind of just get on the binders and try to get it straightened back up before they can get back into the gas, right? And unless it's one of those little wiggles like we've seen before, like what happened with Cody Meadows and Larry Fairman, where it was a little bit of a bad push and Larry just kind of lifted for the 9 and let him kind of figure it out on his own, and then went forward with it with the rest of the race, right? But outside of that, yeah, that's why we've seen the big wrecks, and that's why you continue to see the big wrecks tonight, because it is so hard to keep keep the pace up, keep the speed up, and also, you know, in the middle of saving a car here, you know, middle 2, middle 3 wide.
Yeah, that's some really good insight, Christian. You see right now the 40 car. Once again, Isaac Wilson to the charge. Obviously, Jeff Ruchatsky continuing to do his job on the bottom of the racetrack. Yeah, you got to start thinking about, hey, man, like, eventually, if you're Jeff, do you let Isaac Wilson get in front of you? You know, maybe save some fuel and try to work together, see how you are as a pusher for maybe later on in the end of the race?
Yeah, I mean, it's something you have to keep in the back of your mind. Remember, Isaac, like, looking on the scoring sheet, has a little bit less fuel in the tank than the rest of these drivers. So I mean, we're approaching, you know, fuel window status here. We've got 24 laps, so he can go probably another 10 before we come down, which is fine. But everybody else can go longer and kind of shorten this pit stop if they want to get to the end. So now the question is if you're a Hendrick teammate with this 40 machine, do you go with Isaac, or do you be like, man, you know, at what point do teammates become teammates, and do you start racing for yourself?
That's a really good question, Christian, and I was just going to pose that to you once we started getting towards the end of this race, because, you know, for me personally, right, obviously, you know, the last lap, anything goes, and, you know, I'll cut you some slack if you're my teammate or if you're a friend of mine, but I'm still going to make moves for myself. I'm going to be selfish, right? That's just how it goes. But up until then, you know, I really think, like, you just have to work with everybody for as long as humanly possible, because with the way that the momentum swings happen, you might end up making a move way too early that ends up screwing over someone that you may need later on in the race. And so, as long as you're content with dishing out what you can take in return, I think you got to wait till much later to start making moves for yourself. But with a lot of these guys here, we've already seen some selfishness and some, you know, some drivers that are ignoring, you know, manufacturer, team, alliances and whatnot. So I think it really is just kind of a, you know, boys have at it kind of situation, you know, that just kind of transitions into being the status quo later on in the race.
And speaking of, you know, being selfish, having boys have at it, this is James Bowles here leading the field. He is 9 laps down, so not really in a position to really to get any laps back in a way to where it's gonna really affect the outcome of this race. But he wants to get up here and lead some laps here, and, you know, it looks like Jeff's content pushing his 23 out. You saw the 16 as well, Jimmy Johnson. He's driven his way back up through the field here. Granted, he's also laps down and almost a big wiggle out of the 16 again, trying to push that 40 out on that top side.
And it's so difficult. We don't know what kind of damage the 16 or the 23 may have, or even if they don't have damage, you know, they're just obviously they obviously have a different you know, set of priorities right now, running towards the end of this race here. And I mean, it's definitely a big what if for Jimmy Johnson, as he is the first car a lap down here, but obviously, you know, very unfortunate for that 16 car who had so much speed and just got caught up in a few different incidents throughout the race.
He'll jump down on the bottom side. He'll actually leave that 40 out. That's going to have to make Cody Meadows jump up and try to grab his contact with the 40.
Jeff had enough of that. He said, I'm going to push you and shove you out of the way here, but that's going to let the 16 go by now. Now there's 2 lap cars that are going to separate Jeff from this lead pack.
Yeah, that's very interesting to say the least, and I don't think Jeff's going to be too happy about that. As there he goes, off the butt for Chatsky, the 16. They go for a spin here. And there goes Jeff. There goes the 24, Thomas Flynn. There goes the 23. No caution, though. We stay green.
Wow. Just wow. I mean, honestly, that only leaves 2 cars in this lead pack now. And I mean, if this stays green, we may make it to the very end with only a few cars in contention here.
Yeah, these guys got to get away. I mean, they're out of the draft range. But once again, you know, what can Cody, what can Isaac do here? They're going to get swarmed. I don't really think they have a shot to get away with a 2-car tandem here. These guys are going to get swallowed whole. And unfortunately, it's just because of some lap cars being selfish and trying to get up to the field there. They just took out your race leader and Jeff Perchatsky there. I'm trying to be as least biased as I can because Jeff's a really good friend of mine. But I mean, that, you know, you got to take a step back and be like, what are we actually doing, right? I mean, it's fine to be up there and race aggressive, but doing that, that's uncalled for in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, before even seeing a replay of what happened, I mean, yeah, having the 16 and the 23 up there was just kind of unnecessary. But I mean, obviously, you know, it's racing at the end of the day, and you got to give and you got to take a little bit. So just cars coming together, and you can't really do too much about it. But I think it's just going to be a ticking time bomb before these three cars get swarmed here. As we take a look at the replay, we know that the 16 car is in front of Jeff, and the 16 car was in fact the one who ended up delivering the final blow to Jeff's race.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say that was really a off-kilter shove there. I don't know what happened to the 16, but loses the nose there, up the track, and then makes contact with the 23. I mean, and they're all just trying to drive down the track. Jeff is yanking that thing to the left, unfortunately. Not going to get a caution here for this, surprisingly. And Jeff, not a lot of damage, but for Jeff, like pointed out of the lead draft, just going to have to hold on and hope for a caution here. But like going back here, perfect timing. This lead pack has caught back up here. And it's going to be led by, once again, another lap car, the 45, I believe that is, of Shane Johnson. He's technically on the lead lap, but right in front of the race leaders here. So trying to stay on the lead lap here is the 45 of Shane Johnson.
And in typical Tyler Reddick fashion, in contention at a super speedway and at Daytona in a season opener, just like we saw earlier this year. So pretty fitting that the Tyler Reddick machine equivalent is actually out front here, but he is actually not on the lead lap. The 40 car of Isaac Wilson is, but it's still pretty funny how the 45 car still manages to repeat history even in the sim, despite not being on the lead lap.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, I mean, he's technically on the lead lap, but he's you know, hints away from going a lap down. And once again, you have to think of, you know, is it worth it trying to get around the lap car here? Put up a fuss. We just saw what happened here when they were trying to get around the other lappers. They just, you know, they got wrecked trying to shuffle the lappers out here. So honestly, if you're Isaac here, I don't blame him for just being like, hey, if you want to lead the pack, you want to try to stay on the lead lap here, let's do it, right? And let's try to make it happen. And so Isaac continues to push this 45 out. He's going to look to the outside.
Stalled out.
Yeah, how hard is Shane going to fight for this, though, right? Because with coming to 25 to go, there's not a lot of laps left to give yourself a shot to win this race, right? And if he gets a caution right, he doesn't have to worry about being the lucky dog. He is on the lead lap right now. So how hard is Shane going to fight to stay in front of this 40 car?
You know, more importantly, Christian, you know, we talk about the fact that the lap car is staying in front. Like, you know, they have every right to do that, but it really is a tightrope act, because if you're racing up front and you're fine, you keep it clean, you don't get in people's way, you don't impede the ability of the cars behind you to pass you when they're racing for the win, you know, that's fine. But as soon as you overstep and you know, get into someone, you cause a wreck, you make someone else's life like way harder than it needs to be, just because you're trying to stay in the front and be selfish. You know, everyone's going to point the finger at you. So it really is a tightrope act between those two trains of thought. But so far, the 45 is, you know, doing a pretty good job of not getting in anyone's way.
All right, now he's doing a good job just trying to keep a hold there. And I want to say this, right? We've gone down to only 13 drivers on the lead lap. You see Jane there, back there in 13th on your scoring pylon here on the left side of your screen. And, you know, I know Jeff isn't going to want to hear this, but, I mean, he got wrecked. He's still P9. He's going to have a top 10 finish if we go green here. So could be worse definitely for Jeff and all the drivers back there, Ben and Matt, who got caught up in the wreck there. You see Thomas, who also got caught up in the wreck as well, running his own race. But Thomas actually about to get lapped here. I wonder if, yeah, he's pretty tore up here. I wondered if he tried to just get it back going. But yeah, you see a lot of damage to the 24. He was one of those other drivers caught up in that lap car shenanigans, whatever you want to call it there. And not going to probably have the opportunity to fight like Shane did here to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, really unfortunate, but that 24 car will drag the 45 and cars on back past. I think that'll be a way less of a fight than the 45 was going to be able to put up. 40 car will likely go around him here. Or no, he will actually elect to stay in line.
Remember, this is a Hendrick teammate, right? So if anybody, I mean, if they're gonna let the 45 stay on the lead lap, they're surely gonna let the 24, who is a teammate, try to give himself an opportunity to stay on the lead lap if they get a caution, right? I guarantee you, there's probably some coercing on the radio, right? And as soon as it gets down to the nitty gritty, 10 to go, 5 to go, you might see the 45, you might see that 24 get out of the way, let these guys race it out for the win, right? And I would hope to see that, right? But right now, I think these leaders are trying to be a little bit more cordial, trying to be a little, I would say, try to be nice, right? If we get a lucky caution here, these guys get back on the lead lap. It's 2 other drivers that they can race for, that can race for the win here later in the race here, as we have only 25 laps to go here in this Daytona 500.
You actually brought up a really good point I didn't think about, Christian. And yeah, I mean, the 24 is an ally at the end of the day for those Hendrick Motorsports cars. And I definitely think that the 24 is going to be helping keep some other cars at bay for the 40 car and the 9 car who have an alliance now. But another thing I want to point out is that somehow Jeff Pruchatsky is still in the top 10. So that just goes to show how many cars are actually on the lead lap here, despite that long line of cars you see leading this pack.
Yeah, it's all single file. Everybody just trying to figure out what they want to do. This is where the mind games start becoming effective. When do you pull out? When do you start to get together with your teammates, right? And see what's going on here, because it's an 8-car pack here, at least of the lead lap cars, right? Last car in this lead lap technically is that 48 back there. Chris Otto. Then you have 2 more lap cars there, the 60 and the 38 of Van Maastricht. Those 2 guys are 1 lap down. And then obviously you have 2 lap cars leading the field here, right? The 45 and the 24 of Johnson and Flynn, right? So we've got a couple of lap cars sprinkled in here, but 8 cars here in this lead pack.
Yeah, and I think these laps are going to go all the way to the finish of this race, because I don't think that riding single file here is going to really breed a caution. I mean, we saw a huge wreck that didn't even bring out a caution either. So unless we have someone really step out of line here, I think that this is going to go to the finish, honestly. So, if you are a Hendrick car, or if you are in a VC with anybody who is considered a teammate, this is when you really have an opportunity to say, hey, we're riding in line, pretty low stress situation. Let's strategize. Let's think about how we can get up to the front, or if we are in the front, how do we stay in the front? Think about a game plan, right? And eventually, yes, it will come down to the drivers and whether or not they decide to stay out. But yeah, here we go. Actually, we got some pit stops now.
Here comes the Hendrick Chevys here, the 40, the 24, the 9, and the 48. Down pit side here, I'm interested to see if Pruchatsky coming out turn 3 and 4 will come with them. If they're doing their, I don't blame him. Kind of has to do his own thing here, pushing the 23 and the 7, little 3-car pack here, just trying to make something out of nothing, basically, for the Pruchatsky machine. And they need something special here, but coming out of the pits here, it should be Meadows. Yeah, all these guys coming back out, so this will hand the race lead back over now to Larry Fairman, who has now the 77 as a lap car in front now. So looks like as we turn our head away now, Craig Longslager has found his way into this lead pack here. So now it's going to be the 45 and the 77 who are lap cars. Shane still technically on the lead lap, and Craig 1 lap down, trying to stay 2. Is now Larry Fairman now. Very confusing to see. Leading the field technically here, your provisional leader.
Yeah, a little bit chaotic, but with 20 to go coming up on Larry Fairman, to the point, 1 win to 91 starts. Yeah, I mean, kind of just goes to show, right? And anything can happen if you're in the right place at the right time. Very reminiscent of Michael McDowell's 2021 Daytona 500 victory in that same paint scheme, obviously in the Gen 6 era. But right now, Larry Fairman definitely in a good spot, and I'm wondering, yeah, after this pit cycle, I definitely think that, we could see someone we're not used to seeing up front cycle through. So, gotta just make sure you come at the right time.
Well, and it's funny, that 1 win that Larry got here in that 34, was in a kind of Michael McDowell fashion. It was a fuel mileage race at Michigan, and he was the one sole guy who made it on fuel without having to come down and take a pit stop there. He won that race. I remember being a VC because I was still driving for Penske, and super happy for Larry, you know, getting his first win. You know, he's got one more than I do, so very, very cool. It'll win for him there from Michigan, I believe it was. So looking for win number 2 here from Daytona, leading the race here with 20 to go.
Yeah, really good spot to be in with 20 to go. I'd love to see that out of Larry. 54 years old. Another guy who's could easily be, you know, drinking a beer on the porch, happy hour, right? Watching the sunset, spend time with family. But, you know, here he is in the iSNF Cup Series with our season opener on full display for you guys at home. In contention for the win here. Really cool to see.
And I'm looking here at the field numbers. I don't think there's anybody that can make it on field here. They'd have to go 50 laps. And we saw drivers like, you know, hibernation fuel saving just to get the 40. So all these drivers sooner or later are going to have to come down pit road. Obviously, we saw the Hendrick guys come down a little bit earlier. You know, obviously, with it two or three laps ago to just I don't know, to get together here. I think they expected everybody to kind of react to them. That might actually hurt them in the long run because, you know, they just will have, yeah, this 4-car group here trying to work together versus everybody up towards the front here. They're in a big pack. They're working together, you know, and kind of more coerced with each other, right? Versus those 400 cars who are just trying to do their best to get something put together.
You know, something I just thought about, Christian, is for those cars that have not pit yet, right? We're talking about 6 with Perchatsky on back to the 45 car in 11th. If a caution were to come out, which it likely will in the last, I don't know, let's say 5 laps of the event, they could stay out if their fuel permits and essentially get a free pit stop, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Jeff, I'm staying on as long as I can and to hope for a caution, right? And not only do you stay on the lead lap, right? You get that free pit stop to top off on some Sunoco race fuel, and then you're set and ready to go, right? So I feel like that's the only thing that like Jeff and the 7 can do here with Ben Ruse. They have to just stick it out as long as they possible. Hope that they wreck. You know, exiting pit road, entering pit road, and somehow doing it in a way that excuse me, triggered the caution.
See Jeff, 9 starts, likely not going to have that win category change from a 0 to a 1 today, but nonetheless, really good effort after leading a majority of the race from stage 2 into the last stage. But as we come up on 15 to go here, Larry Fairman continuing to lead, as well as Wyckoff in that 41 car, followed by the 42 of Miller. A lot of guys that, you know, love to see up front here in the iSNF Pro Series. See right there, Wyatt Roberts as well in that Ricky Bobby fire suit. Pretty iconic picture right there. What a crazy set of circumstances it would be if he was able to pull off a win here in the iSNF Cup Series after the amount of incidents he's been in tonight. And speaking of, Christian, we take a look at the track conditions here. We got a lot of sunshine in some areas from the sunset, and then some shadows. You know, when you're in the sim, does that ever bother you, the amount of flickering that you can have, you know, from the transition of the shadows to the light?
I mean, I think, you know, maybe if you're new to the sim and you're in, like when I first, you know, got my setup and stuff, I got kind of motion sickness when I first got it, but like as you just I'm in the sim, just like any other thing you get, right? You get used to it and then you become comfortable with it. So I guess maybe some of these drivers who aren't as experienced, at least on the simulator, maybe they're new or whatever. Like you look someone, I'm not sure, like maybe someone like Ben Ruse, I'm not sure how long he's had the sim as you see him actually down pit road. Maybe he could be upset by it, but at the end of the day, you're focusing on so much more than the flickers and the light bouncing off cars and stuff that, you know, for me, I don't even notice it anymore. But definitely an interesting to think about. There is a little bit of a wobble out of the 45. We approach lap 13 to go here, Daytona.
Yeah, and you know, Christian, something else I just thought about. We talked about the pack that Jeff Perchatsky was running with and the deficit that they had. But with these guys that are in the front pack here, talking about Larry Fairman on back to man in the 19 car, and we've talked about, you know, all of these contenders throughout today, but you know, I'm not quite sure how long the deficit changes from a full pit cycle and getting back up to speed and blending out. But once these guys pit, are they still going to be in the lead relative to those groups of cars that came before them?
Now I'm looking back here with the Cody and them back here, and obviously we'll see if the lap for lap works here. We've had some issues with it here. We'll see how this all works, but these guys have been slowly reeling them in. The last lap for these guys were 46, now a 47.3 to a 48.2 for Larry Fairman. So look back here. I don't know if this is how much. I'm not sure how. Well, this is back to Jeff actually. So this is not going to be exactly what we want. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess this backpack, they are catching Jeff back here. I mean, Jeff's right up the road here. That will be another kind of teammate, if you want to call it, that can work with these guys. Obviously, Jeff will still have to pit as well. You know, all the drivers in front of him. So, Jeff just trying to hold on for dear life here with 11 to go now. Now 12, actually. I forgot Jeff is a little bit behind the leaders. So, 12 to go. Jeff's holding on for dear life, hoping for a caution.
And as we come down to 10 to go here, you know, it's kind of weird, but the way that I categorize some of these ends of races is grouping together mini Gran Turismo 6 races in the career mode, where they basically had a 5-lap shootout in the NASCAR mode. And you think about it, 10 to go, that's just 2 5-lap shootouts. Those go by real quick in the Gran Turismo game, and obviously that's coming from a rolling start. So, you know, I've done that so many times on the PS3 that I know that like these 10 laps will fly by before we know it. So if I'm Larry Fairman and I'm these guys that are riding in line here, you know, I've been saving some fuel riding in line for as long as I have. You know, I probably don't need to fill up that much to get it to the end, right? But I just don't know if they're going to be able to stay in front of Cody Meadows, Chris Otto, all those guys that are way further back, and they're good to go as far as I'm aware. So assuming we stay caution free, I think our winner is definitely going to come from obviously this pack or that pack behind them.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see when do they make the hard left turn down pit road, if they ever do, right? They ran 38 laps on this tank, right? And they've got 10 to go. I mean, dude, I just don't think it's possible. But I mean, I've seen a lot, you know, more spectacles happen on the sim than ever, right? So Larry has not been up there pushing that 77. I mean, you can tell he's not trying to get the most out of this car. He is hyper fuel saving here in that 34, and I think so is Bob back there. You don't even see him even really connected to that 17 back there. So, I mean, I guess I can't say it's not out of the realm of possibilities for them to hyper save. I mean, they've got, what, a 32-second gap that they can hemorrhage down these last 9 laps to try to save as much fuel as they can to make it here without having to go down pit road.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Christian. And yeah, going to be coming to 8 to go here. I mean, this is where, you know, the emotions kind of start to, you know, creep in, right? And, you know, the most level heads will definitely be able to tune all that out. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Christian, like, this is an opportunity to win the Daytona 500 in the sim. This is big for a lot of these guys. So for everyone who's still in contention here, you know, this is really where you start to, you know, kind of have the sweaty palms. This is where you start to kind of look around, look in your mirrors a little closely. Make sure that you have people that are around you that you can kind of foresee working together with and making moves with, right? You really have to manifest, you know, the win here. You know, as cliche as it may sound, you have to imagine it happening for it to really be, you know, materialized. So I think for a lot of these guys that are just riding in line here, you know, you just really have to have, you know, an imaginative mindset with being able to make a move towards the front here and truly believe that you can make it work and pull off the victory, because that is a massive achievement.
Well, and right on board with the 19 because if anybody knows what they're doing, it is this number 19 of Sartaj here. And I feel like if he knew that he couldn't make it, he would have pitted by now, right? So this is what I'm honestly leaning on the side that they might be able to somehow make this miracle work and save the fuel that they need to make it to the end here. Because like I said, if this 19, I just feel like if this 19 knew he could make it, he would already took it in the hard left turn down pit road instead of giving up time and running half throttle back here, you know, in the back half of this first pack.
Yeah, you know, that's a really, really good point. And these guys must know something that we don't, right? They must have crunched the numbers a little bit differently than we can see as far as the overlays can. Oh, there we go, actually, just as we say that, peeling off with 7 to go.
I think that was a 17
and I think
45. Those are 2 lap cars, so those are probably different fuel strategies compared to these race leaders.
Yeah, and then, you know, another thing that I think about is, you know, if the caution were to come out, that still helps them anyways, because it takes away from the uncertainty of being able to make it or not. But you hear the feathering of the throttle there from the 19. So, yeah, I mean, this could definitely get flipped on its head as soon as we pretty much hit 5 to go here. I think it's go time.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because you look at the lap times, right? Leaders last ran at 47.7. Chris Auto, Cody Meadows, 46.9. They're almost a full second quicker lap. And they only have 6 laps to go. Now going to 5 to go here. I mean,
yeah, that's not going to be enough. They're not going to catch him if they stay out.
Even if they put around half throttle, I don't think that's enough time for those Hendrick Motorsports guys to catch back up to these guys. And even if they put around half throttle, just to you know, get it to the end. And you look at the 77 here. The 77, you see, of Lautenschlager, he's on the same pit strategy, so he has to go the same amount of fuel here. So Greg, you know, honestly is doing these leaders a favor by leading the pack here, probably running, you probably half throttle along with these guys and just helping these guys save fuel. That's exactly what, you know, Cody and Chris and Isaac, those guys do not want to see that, but the 77 is doing these guys a huge favor by just sitting out here leading the field, letting these guys fuel save.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy that this is what it's going to come down to, I think. But now we start talking about, you know, those that are in contention up front here. I mean, Larry Fairman, Wyckoff, Miller, Wyatt Roberts. And then obviously we talked about Man in that 19 car who has just really done a good job throughout the entire race and somehow managed to end up in this top pack here. How about that separation from third on back, though? Rather, second on back.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, Bob is starting to pull away a little bit here from Nick Miller in that 42. Nick running
little pedal to the metal. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe these guys have a little bit more fuel mileage, and they're saying, "Hey, there goes Larry."
Oh,
there.
Wow!
Larry could not make it there. Neither could Craig. So now that's going to hand the race lead over to Bob, and he's kind of sitting in no man's land. He's going to have to back this way up because I feel like, and once again, there was it was those 2 drivers who had the clean air, who had the pedaled around here with 3 to go here. Can anybody make it on fuel?
And how about Enrique Cucalone contributing to this race outcome here? Man, this is kind of unbelievable. Just thinking about, you know, what might happen here. I mean, I don't even know if these guys are sure that they can make it or not. But I think they were just hoping for a yellow too. I mean, and I would do the exact same thing. But man, I mean, if your fuel calculator is telling you, you know, hey, I have 1.5 laps left. Like, why not try to stretch it, right?
I mean, you're going to 2 to go. You have a 20-second gap. You can borderline coast through 3 and 4 if you need to. You guys have such a gap. It's the fact of where do you go now? Here comes Cucalone. Here comes Wyatt Robertson. You know, these guys are very familiar with themselves with the ARC guys. The 12's going to jump out of line, and so is the 19. They're going to jump up and try to take the race lead away. Here comes Wyatt Roberts to the lead here with 2 to go.
Wyatt Roberts with the crazy airborne crash in the tri-oval in that red Pontiac Firebird 42 car last night in the ARC Pro Series. It was a devastating blow to his morale, I'm sure of it. But now he's leading this race in the 12 Menards machine for Penske Racing at the Daytona International Speedway. Wyatt Roberts with the opportunity to win on the biggest stage here in the season opener of the iSNF Cup Series. White flag, 1 to go.
Wyatt Roberts has the opportunity. Help from an ARC teammate is Wyatt. Not out of fuel, but here comes Sartaj. This is going to be the battle for the race win here. Who does Kukulone help? Who does Kukulone block here for the win here? I mean, and this 20 is going to be the decider of who wins, who loses here. And ultimately, who can make it on fuel? Here comes Sartaj here. Can he steal it away here going down the backstretch?
One more final shot for Wyatt Roberts. It's going to come down to this. After 500 miles, 200 laps, who's it going to be coming to the line?
Wyatt Roberts, I think he's stumbling. He is stumbling, and Sartaj Man across the stripe. He's going to win the Daytona 500. Sartaj Man, fuel strategy gets him the victory here from Daytona.
And that doesn't even begin to tell the story of Sartaj Man's day here at Daytona. Wyatt Roberts running out of gas, coming to the line. That leaves Sartaj Man to be able to coast across the line and celebrate his victory at Daytona.
Wow. I mean, just wow. Like, how can you script that up, right? Jeff, here he comes across the stripe there. We know Jeff not probably happy. He's going to finish P9, 1 lap down. But what a way to call that, right? We had no idea that that fuel strategy and stretching it was even a possibility tonight here from Daytona. And I don't think Sartaj is going to make it back to the stripe. He's going to burn it down here on the backstretch for you fans at home. What a race. What a strategy call by the 19 team.
I am just so shocked, Christian, at the outcome of this. There he is. He's out. He's done. He only did a little bit of a burnout on the backstretch chicane, and he's out of there. I mean, how unbelievable that strategy played out. And you see the deficit to Cody Meadows, 14 seconds. They lost another 14 seconds. I think the gap was at least 28 back to the Hendrick cars that were trailing that lead pack in the last, like, 2 laps. So they were way low on throttle. And I gotta imagine that Enrique Cucolone definitely contributed to that, because he was helping the 19 get some draft there, obviously a Toyota teammate. But just unbelievable. You see it right there. 55 of 201 laps led. Easily the most, other than the pace car today, led in this field. Just a crazy set of circumstances that led this guy, who dominated the first opening parts of this event, and then kind of faded out and somehow managed to stay in contention towards the end.
I mean, what a win. What a way to strategize that. Because like I said, I had no recollection in my mind that you could go 47 laps. That's a quarter of the race here. We saw, the first anybody tried to go, this race was 38. They had to stretch that almost 10 extra laps here to get to the end there. And Sartaj Man barely squeaks it out. Wyatt Roberts, though, we have to give him his flowers as well. Comes home P2. Just not enough fuel to get him to the end there, the battle with that 19 for his second win of this in his iSNF career.
Yeah, I mean, just awesome. And I mean, we're going to have a good time chatting with these guys in the booth here. But I mean, wow, you see it right there. The support from the 45 teammate Toyota car. You see him backing it into the wall there. He might just park it there. He will. Our race winner, Sartaj Man, here at the Daytona International Speedway.
What a way to call it, and what a way to win it, right? That's still, my jaw's still on the floor now, just thinking about how he just won that race. Fuel mileage here. Look back here. This is going to, I believe, the white flag here. You see the Cucolone back there leading the field here. You see Wyatt Roberts jumped up in there right here. I don't even think we need a commercial break. I think that finish was so exciting. Actually, we will wait to see if Sartaj wants to join us up here in the booth. We have Nick Miller, and here he is, Sartaj Man. Let's go ahead and talk to him here. Sartaj, is Christian and Matthew up here in HVTV booth. You got a copy?
Got a copy.
Well, first of all, congratulations. What a way to finish that race out there for, 200 miles here from Daytona. It was between you and Wyatt Roberts, a fuel lottery, basically, between you and the 12 there. Pull out a line there on the last lap there, and we're able to make the pass, and just to look like Wyatt. Not enough fuel in the tank to, make another run at you. What a way to win it. Just walk us through your race tonight. Walk us through that interesting battle between you and the 12.
Well, the first half of the race was just attrition. Thankfully I was in the front, so I avoided most of the carnage that was going on. But that last run, like I don't think I've ever saved fuel as much as I did there.
This has been a long
But
time
I'm
coming.
lucky. I'm lucky that what's it called? I just saved more than they did because I thought the 12 was gonna get a run back on me, but he ran out of fuel again, so I
Yeah,
was
walk
able
us.
to
Yeah, walk
get
us
that.
through that fuel saving strategy. You said you would never saved enough fuel, that much fuel, in, ever, right? To try to make it to the end there. It wasn't even in our realm of possibilities that guys could even make it. So what was that first glimpse of hope of like maybe I don't have to pit here and maybe I can maybe save to get to the end?
When the green dropped, I was looking at my fuel. I was like if I'm not gonna be up there in the lead, like I might as well save fuel. So I was like, I told my teammate, Nick, I'm like, yo, I think we can like low key make it to the end here. He was like, yeah, we kind of can. So we started saving then. But whenever that first what was it, like a 5 car like little spin on the backstretch happened, we are like, oh, it might be over now because we like lose more cars. But and then the run keeps on happening, and I'm sitting in the back of the pack, just like literally going half throttle the whole time. And thankfully, it paid off for me. But I don't know, it was just me, Nick, and I think Wyatt, Larry, and Bob were just saving the whole time, just hoping we could make it.
Looked like you and White were the only ones who were able to hold on there for the very end there. Bob have to pull off. We saw Larry pull off it as well as some other drivers, but you know, walking us through obviously just the attrition you talked about, a lot of cautions throughout the whole race there, and then just the juxtaposition of having to deal through all the carnage. You had to use that fast repair early after getting caught up in that one run to having to just fuel save. What is kind of that juxtaposition in your mind of just how topsy turvy this race has been tonight?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully we did have that fast repair. Otherwise, my car was destroyed. My wheel was going completely 180. But I mean, how long was that? It was like 4 hours long. So it really just staying in it and not letting myself get too far down. If anything wrong happened. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad for me. But yeah, just staying in the race and giving myself a chance at the end. That's all it's about.
Give yourself a chance, and you definitely capitalized on it. You led 55 of the 200 laps, just over quarter of the laps led tonight. Obviously, a dominant car for you in this whole 19 Joe Gibbs racing machine. So, congrats, Lartage, your second one of your career, and second one comes at a crown jewel event here from Daytona. So we congratulate that on you. And but before I let you go, anybody you want to thank, shout out, appreciate for tonight's win here, and what a spectacular way for you in this night game.
Thank you. And I'd like to shout out the JGR and 2311 team and LMC as well. Nick Miller, he was there at the end. So was Enrique and Shane as well. Big help there.
We appreciate your time up here in the HBTV booth. And once again, congratulations, Sartaj, here on one of the crown jewels here, winning the Daytona 500. We look forward to seeing what you can do next week here in week number 2.
Thank you.
Sartaj wins from Daytona, and what a stunning way to do it. I think Matthew has the second place finisher. White Roberts up here in the HBTV booth.
Hey, Wyatt Roberts, this is Matthew and Kristen up in the HUTV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, here we are again, interviewing you, and a runner-up finish. But I don't think that even begins to, characterize just the day that you had here at Daytona. I mean, let's just start with that finish, man. Walk us through what happened with the fuel strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I realized it was going to be close on fuel at that final pit stop. That one backstretch wreck didn't end up being a caution, so that really solidified when we went all single file that this is going to be a fuel saving race. Some people were close, and I realized early, so I was trying my best to save what I could. And I was getting really close to that fuel number. I knew even going into the final lap I was going to be like 0.2 short, but I was hoping Sartaj was also short, which I guess he was good on fuel. He was saving right behind me the whole time. He was the only person I was really worried about, honestly. But yeah, like just it was so close, but he had the run down the backstretch and he had the extra fuel for the tri-oval, so end up a second short on the fuel because I ran out, but still happy to get second place and not have to do that final pit stop at all.
Yeah, obviously coming home second after that crazy fuel mileage, definitely a good thing to look forward to long term. Keep that motivation moving forward. But yeah, let's talk about the incidents that we had throughout the day. I know you were at least caught up in a few of them, but did you feel that after you used your first fast repair that you might have got caught up in another incident moving forward? Because that was kind of the trend of the first half of the race was just the yellows.
Yeah, definitely. I was racing pretty hard trying to get the stage points there at the end of stage one, and then got in that big wreck. It wasn't actually a black flag for repair damage, but I knew it was going to be bad, so I took the fast repair. And basically, all the way up until this final run, I was just like trying to sit on the inside, try not to get involved in anything. I got into another one where it was like a 50-second repair, but that wasn't too bad. Um, but yeah, I was really trying to be careful, just hold my line, stay on the inside, and not try and really do too many moves. And honestly, that works out with it ending up in a fuel saving race anyway. So it was pretty chill. Those like last 50 laps, just single file.
Yeah, obviously it was a lot of ups and downs, but before we let you go here, just want to give you an opportunity to shout out and let anyone else know you appreciate them for this finish here at Daytona.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Ford boys in this league, iSNF. Was working with Larry and Chris, even though they're our FRM, still working with them as part of the Ford camp. Shout out to Enrique and Bryson Bird for they're my teammates in another league, and shout out to them for trying out some iSNF. Shout out to my dad and my grandma who I know were watching, and also my friend Seth, who I sent the link for so he could watch for the race.
We really appreciate your time, Wyatt. We appreciate you up here in the booth, obviously. Love seeing you out in all the series that we broadcast that you're in. So we appreciate you coming out here today to iSNF. You have a good rest of your night, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Wyatt Roberts comes home bridesmaid once again here on the network, and what a way to do it in a fuel mileage race. And we'll talk to the other person who was able to come home here with a good finish here due to the fuel mileage. Let's go ahead and talk to Nick Miller up here in the HPTV booth. Hey Nick, it's Christian Matthew up here in the HPTV booth. You got a copy?
Yep, how you doing?
Well, P3 finish for you in this whole Legacy 42 machine. Obviously, I would say an up and down day for you. You were up there, you led some laps, you were up there, towards the front for some parts of the race, and obviously got caught up in, I think everybody got caught up in a wreck at some point this race tonight. But obviously, looking back to that last half of the race there, obviously, fuel mileage was, I guess, the way to go there. You and it looked like the top three guys who finished tonight had an idea that you guys could save your way to the end there without having to make that last pit stop. So just walk us through that mindset and walk us through, what got you up here tonight here in this podium spot.
Yeah, I mean the first half of the race, first 100 laps, I was just stuck doing repair with the good old crew chief, talking to the crew chief for 80 laps. I think I fixed a total of like 16 minutes between two separate like incidents. So first half of the race, I was just literally sitting in pit road, it felt like, and then second half of the race, I felt like I was just saving fuel. So it's it's an underwhelming day for me, but yeah, I guess whenever that last caution came out, just how the cookie crumbled with fuel, we just were tight on it. I kind of noticed it early on, and so did Sartaj. So we just kind of laid back, but just with the way the pack was moving, I wasn't able to save it quite as much as him and Wyatt were able to. So weren't quite able to make it, but P3 is P3, so we'll take it.
Walk us through, obviously the Carnage tonight, a lot of wrecks, a lot of getting through stuff. What was kind of the mindset of, knowing that, the big one could be just around the corner?
Yeah, I don't know, because it felt like the big one showed up like 3 or 4 times. So I think I was just, for where I was, I just wasn't really near any but like one, and I was caught in it. So I don't really have much. I had like no C's part. It was nothing. I kind of like showed up like 4 seconds later.
Yeah, it was definitely a chaotic first half of the race, but you still have a great recovery for you and this whole 42 team. Come home, going out this last podium spot. So congratulations to you and this whole 42 team Nick. But before we let you go, anybody you want to thank, shout out, appreciate for tonight's run here from the World Center of Racing?
Yeah, to thank Legacy for having me on this season, as well as just the Toyota team in general. We seem to work pretty well together when we are actually together. And one last shout out, my girlfriend's dad is actually he does some streaming on YouTube. His YouTube is Virtual Flight Diaries, and he is 14 subscribers away from 1,000. And I know he's so close and is excited to hit that. So if you guys could go hit him a subscribe, that'd be great.
Well, we'll definitely, at least up here in the booth, we'll give it our best shot to help him out there. But we appreciate your time, Nick, and we look forward to seeing what you do throughout the season. But congratulations on a good run. Hopefully, you can carry this momentum into next week and continue to rack up these good finishes.
Yep, thank you.
Nick Miller rounds out your top 3 tonight, and I guess it's time to go through your unofficial race results. Your brought to you by High Velocity TV is top 30 odd some drivers who decided to show up tonight here from Daytona for your 500. We talked to your top 3 finishers tonight: Sartaj Maan, Wyatt Roberts, and Nick Miller running out your podium. You look at Cody Meadows; these were the Hendrick guys who came down, made that different pit strategy there. They come home 4th, 5th, 6th, still a solid finish for those guys. Solid points tonight for all those, especially for Chris Otter, who gets that stage 2 win. You look back to Larry Fairman 7th, Bob Wyckoff 8th, and Jeff Brzezinski, a top 10 finish for him back there with the other Hendrick car. And you look at Ben Ruse running out your top 10 one lap down.
Yeah, taking a look at 11th through 20th finishing positions. Thomas Flynn in that 24 car. Chris Van Maastricht, Jeff Weimer, Craig Lotzlager, Shane Johnson, Don Blazier, Bryson Bird, Eric Jorgensen, Enrique Cucolone, and Matt Metler.
Further back here, outside of the top 20 tonight, James Bowles, Jimmy Johnson, all these guys out early tonight. Justin Johnson, Justin Barkley, Miguel Rangel, Michael Thorpe Jr., Mike Iskandar, Judd Cobb, Terrence Preston, and Timothy Cook Jr. running out your top 30.
And looking at the remaining finishers in this race, Rhea Ferris, Scott Trusty, Jackson Trusty, Parker Standrit, Alyssa Pelletier Sharp, and Brian Treadwell.
A 36 car show up tonight here. Obviously, we saw lots out early. But Matthew, obviously, we talked about it. We knew coming into Daytona it was going to be chaos. That's just the way Daytona is. It's why they call it the World Center of Racing. That's it's chaotic here when you bring 36 high speed next gen cars out here tonight. So race for a crown jewel event here in the iSNF Cup Series. What we expected next, exactly what we got.
Yeah, we got just about everything you could possibly want in a super speedway race, and it seems that iSNF always comes bringing the best drivers and bringing the best action, and we really did get that here tonight. And I just love that everybody who came out, had an opportunity. We had a lot of different leaders, we had a lot of different manufacturer and team representation, and a lot of longtime members of the iSNF community, as well as first-time guys just starting out in the community. Saw a lot of those guys around as well. And then obviously the racing action itself was just unbelievable. We had a lot of aggression from the very start, a lot of caution laps too, but that just gave the opportunity to the guys that were able to put their cars where they needed to be in the right moments and just really capitalize on those opportunities that came to them. And then obviously we had, the stage yellows. The stage yellows just helped elevate those people who were dotting their I's and crossing their T's, right? And then obviously towards the end of the race, when we had that yellow that never came out for that multi-car incident, it just ended up creating a fuel-saving situation that we didn't really even anticipate. We thought that it was going to be pretty much just the main Hendrick cars that were leading that first group that pitted, but it turned out that it was a majority of the cars that had stayed out that actually were in contention towards the end. And then obviously that last lap shootout between the 12 and the 19 car, then the 12 running out of gas. I mean, the 19, who was just dominating all day, led the most laps and was able to really just capitalize on that opportunity. I mean, it really just capped off a crazy day of racing here at Daytona.
I couldn't say it better myself, Matthew. It just, like you said, I think we got everything we wanted. We had the big one. We had, the fuel mileage race. We had, single file. We had 3 wide. We had 2 wide. We had everything you could ask for. Obviously, we had the stage racing that picked up at the end there to, race for the stage win. And I couldn't have asked for a better thing. Obviously, the wrecks were, especially the first half of the race, were a little bit egregious, but But that's what you get sometimes when you come here to these super speedways here in these cars. But still a fantastic, at least finish to the race there. As we congratulate Sartaj Maan on his first win of the season, his second win in his iSNF career here, coming from one of the crown jewel events here from Daytona. But for myself, Matthew Prochaski up here in the HVTV booth, I think it's time to call it, I guess, a night here on this Saturday afternoon. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the Cup race tomorrow and enjoy the Brickyard 400 tomorrow. Actually, we get one crown jewel from the iSNF Cup Series to another crown jewel with the Brickyard 400. But for myself and Matthew Prochaski, once again up here in HVTV booth, we hope everybody has a good rest of your Saturday. We look forward to seeing you on the flip side. Once again, you've been watching a high velocity TV production of the iSNF Cup Series. Have a good rest of the night. See you guys soon.